He was probably the first African leader to be treated by white men as an equal. Now, in his old age, he's practically the incarnation of the history of our time. In Europe, the bloodiest of modern wars was being fought with tanks, machine guns, and poison gas. But here, the centuries rolled back as if to King Henry at Agincourt, or Richard losing his crown at Bosworth Field. Joining the new League of Nations, he put his faith in the latest post-war watchword, collective security. In such great company, one little country would surely be safe, for none would let another gobble it up. Instead, he hoped that all might compete in helping him to modernize his country and make it worthy of its place in the League. To extend his foreign contacts, he toured the European capitals. In London, the Times described his arrival as an historical event. In Stockholm, he met King Gustav, and the Swedes promised him doctors. In Brussels, he found financiers ready to invest in his country. Governors of Africa's colonial territories came to salute the independent African king. Benito Mussolini, the Italian dictator, proclaimed he would create a new Roman Empire, and he aimed at the one place left for imperial conquest in Africa, Haile Selassie's Ethiopia. And Britain and France would do no more than proclaim an embargo on arms sales to both sides. For Italy, with her own arms, the embargo was a green light. For Ethiopia, it was a death sentence. But for Haile Selassie, the final betrayal came at the League of Nations. Pierre Laval, the French foreign minister, and Sir Samuel Hoare for Britain, proposed to hand part of Ethiopia to Mussolini. Appeasement had triumphed. Collective security was a myth. In the war that followed, Haile Selassie had no chance.
Ladies and gentlemen, the second speaker on the list is His Majesty Negus Haile Selassie.
He did so with a dignity that has become a legend.
Monsieur le Président, Monsieur le...
The jeers of fascists in the gallery did not stop him. I am here to claim justice, he said. What reply shall I take back to my people? There was no answer, and there could be none. The League was dead. So, said the Emperor, it is us today, it will be you tomorrow. He created a network of tiny airstrips that broke down the isolation of the interior for the first time. When the 1950s opened, Ethiopian Airlines were in business. It was Haile Selassie's first major accomplishment in modernizing his country. Ethiopia's past for the first time came to the aid of the present and made Haile Selassie and his capital the focus of Africa's new hopes. As almost the only independent African ruler after the war, Haile Selassie provided a symbol of self-respect for black men just emerging from white rule. The wind of change had come to Africa. Recognizing the emperor's unique position, the United Nations chose Addis Ababa as its African headquarters, and he embarked on a new political career.
The age in which we live, Your Imperial Majesty, is an age of paradox.
In his brand new Africa Hall, Haile Selassie presided at innumerable meetings of his new revolutionary colleagues. He became the great African father figure, the great African peacemaker, in the Congo, in Biafra, in Morocco and Algeria. It was a strange apotheosis for the King of Kings. He didn't always succeed, but his voice commanded respect, because he alone in Africa had been both victim and victor in the struggle against colonial rule. He alone had been the first martyr of the old League of Nations and was now a founder and guide of the new United Nations. Seeing his influence in the new Africa, the world beat a path to his door. The Organization of African Unity followed the United Nations and set up shop in Addis Ababa. Diplomats and businessmen flocked in. Within a decade, the face of Addis Ababa was transformed. The signs of international affluence towered over the old open drains. With the bankers and diplomats came foreign money and foreign aid. There were new ports, new roads, new dams to be opened. America trained the Emperor's army. Russia built his schools. Israel provided technicians. India supplied teachers. Britain brought doctors. France offered culture. Germany sent trade missions. Haile Selassie's old empire had become the new African showcase, and everyone wanted an exhibit there. Today, Haile Selassie is besieged by foreign delegations hoping to catch his ear. He balances these contemporary forces to strengthen his own independence as shrewdly as he juggled half a century ago with the rival tribes and princes in his old fight for power. One day it may be a Japanese delegation, the next day a mission from Maoist China. It doesn't matter what political persuasion they are, they all see Haile Selassie as an essential link to the rest of Africa. Even with Italy, he's made friends again. On a state visit to Rome, 30 years after Mussolini's troops had been driven from his country. His name is everywhere. His presence seems all-pervading. His word seems law. In his old age, it looks as if Haile Selassie has routed all his enemies at last, to emerge supreme, as if the all-wise and benevolent Lion of Judah has prevailed. Nearly half the population of Ethiopia now is under the age of 15, and for Haile Selassie their education has always been an obsession, and turned one of his palaces into a university. He's directly responsible for whatever schooling these youngsters get. Haile Selassie is a lonely man now. His wife, 2 sons, a daughter are all dead. To have survived them for the better part of 55 years in power is something unequaled by any ruler in the world today. No wonder the Lion of Judah has become one of the living legends of our time.
My grandma is my hero because she wants me to read and write so I can get smart. I wrote a book because I didn't like to read and I didn't like my hair. My friends love the book I wrote. It feels good to inspire people. Nat, you are an amazing little girl and your hair only accentuates what an awesome 8-year-old you are. Your hair is the way it was intended to be. You should be proud. You were born that way for a reason. This is exactly how you're supposed to be. It is important that you learn to love yourself and never change for anyone. We both have natural hair and it is super cool. Your hair is beautiful and don't you forget it. My name is Natalie McGriff and I am an author.
when people say, what do? I usually give them the pat answer, like, I'm a farmer. But really, we're cultivating narrative, cultivating stories that change people's ideas of what's possible in our food system. And so we're accountable to being a farm that is accessible to having anything that we do, like whether it's a workshop, whether it's education, whether it's a tour, be accessible. And for telling the truth, the whole truth about farmers of color not being a novel thing, but being a thing that exists, does exist, and should exist. There are multiple stories, multiple narratives that we've reduced down to black people were brought here, they were enslaved, they hate farming now, the end. So my idea is that obviously the record doesn't reflect that, and it reflects people having really diverse, complicated relationships to land and place, mediated through both trauma and joy, and I think we need to tell the whole story. I would say maybe my great-grandmother wouldn't understand why I was farming, but she would be happy that I'm happy. So, yeah.
I think we live in an increasingly virtual and disconnected world, and so I think a lot of people are drawn to things that are, the artisanal anything, anything that is made where you can connect it to its maker. I think is exciting to us because we're post-industrial, we're
I feel like there's the connection with, again, energy. I feel it being handmade and the people behind it having a certain level of happy, fun energy. There's a connection there. Yeah, absolutely.
OEM began because I was looking for some products that I could use on my own natural and highly textured hair. We use lots of food-grade ingredients. We make them ourselves, not just me and him anymore. But our team of people. And what we try to do with the brand and with the way that we package in very bright colors and the way that our main marketing message is, your hair is awesome. Your product should be awesome too. We lead with that. We lead with the affirmation. We feel like having a platform to send 10,000 little bottles of something out into the world, that's 10,000 little messages that we can give.
Just figuring out the logistics of putting it out in the world, the flowers, the bubbles we put in the candy, the little affirming messages, all of that. It was a learning process for us, and just how to get it from our hearts and minds to the world, I honestly feel like we have no excuse to stop. And I know rest is important at some point, but a lot of our work ethic comes from the fact it's okay, you're standing on the shoulders of ancestors who did a lot more with less. We've come so far, and there's so much more still to do. So you're kind of almost required to keep doing.
Welcome everyone back to the Real News Network. I'm Jared Ball here in Baltimore. On March 21st of this month, Barack Obama will be the first sitting U.S. president to visit Cuba in 88 years, since Calvin Coolidge made the trip in 1928. Glenn Ford, executive editor and founder of BlackAgendaReport.com, returns for another edition of his Ford Report, this time to discuss what this visit means. Welcome back to the Real News, Glenn.
Thanks for having me.
So I was struck by this being the first visit of a U.S. sitting president in 88 years, and I thought we could start by asking you if you see any similarities between Obama's visit in 2016 and the previous one where Calvin Coolidge said in 1928 that in the spirit of Christopher Columbus, all of the Americans have an eternal bond of unity, a common heritage bequeathed to us alone. Unless we together redeem the promise which his voyage held for humanity, it must remain forever void. This is the destiny which Pan America has been chosen to fulfill. 30 years ago, Cuba ranked as a foreign possession torn by revolution and devastated by hostile forces. Such government as existed rested on military force. Today, Cuba is her own sovereign. So Glenn Ford, is this spirit of Columbus still present in Obama's visit? And is there any real concern among U.S. presidents that Cuba be, in fact, sovereign?
That spirit is not existent today in terms of a real respect for Cuban sovereignty. The Cubans seized their own sovereignty, not after Coolidge visited on his battleship, but in 1959 with their revolution, and they had to reclaim that sovereignty with the defeat of the Bay of Pigs invasion just 2 years later, and they've been trying to get out from under the heel of the U.S. embargo that limits their real sovereignty as a nation ever since. When Obama arrives, I think it's March 21st, he won't be arriving on a battleship, but in a way, having lost the battle over isolating Cuba and finding the United States more and more isolated itself, Obama is, in a sense, launching himself as a kind of missile over Havana later on this month. He's going to try to penetrate the Cuban Revolution's defenses with cluster bombs of potential American trade dollars, and by offering to dismantle the U.S. financial fortress, which keeps the Cubans out of the world global financial system. His most formidable and stealth weapon will be the internet. Right now, there are corporations lining up to create the infrastructure that would bring the internet into every Cuban household. And with the internet, all of these cultural and political products that the United States carries over the internet. Because even today, the United States remains the hegemonic superpower in terms of the internet. So the U.S. is keen to get the internet saturated all over Cuba. That would be a kind of infiltration of Cuban society. And I think that this is the real drama that's going to unfold after the Rolling Stone concert and the Tampa Bay baseball team that will play the first exhibition game in Cuba since 1999. The real question is, can the Cubans resist the soft power of U.S. cultural imperialism? And U.S. cultural imperialism is also based on the dollar. And part of the price tag of U.S. trade, which is not just in products that you can pick up or use or wash dishes with, U.S. trade is also in those products that have political ideas and basically propaganda attached to them. How can the Cubans deal with that in a situation in which the embargo, if not totally broken, is eased in its impact? I think that sovereignty means that a people, that a nation have the right to resist the dehumanizing and destabilizing effects of a hostile system's cultural products, just like they have the right to resist any kind of military offensive. Cuba has a right to not allow the United States to once again invade Cuba via the internet, via trade, and by allowing the opposition in Cuba to be somehow empowered by U.S. cultural dollars. Obama can't be allowed to pull off a successful Bay of Pigs invasion, this time with baseball players and Rolling Stones and internet programming. And that's, I think, the real quandary for the Cuban government.
Well, just to follow up on that just very quickly, that last point you were making, what from the perspective of the Cuban Revolution would Raul Castro be looking to get from this meeting, as far as you could tell? What benefits from this could they derive for the Cuban people?
Well, it was kind of upsetting and disconcerting when I was in Cuba last May to hear Cuban officials talk about needing everything. That is, they look forward to the embargo being truly ended because Cuba has a need for just about everything. In fact, I remember one head of a cooperative farm saying that they look at the United States as a big kind of warehouse where all the goods are stored, a Home Depot where they could go shopping. Well, that Home Depot is not just full of tools and things that one can use to physically build Cuban society. The Home Depot is also full of the cultural values produced by corporate capitalism, and they are formidable enemies of any society that's trying to create its own independence and not to be subject to the former colonial ruler. And that's, of course, what that U.S. president who arrived on the battleship was. This one's going to launch himself into Cuba, but he's the same enemy.
Well, I know many Americans, and I know many people, period, see see his daughter on MSNBC every morning. But the father of Misha Brzezinski, Zbigniew Brzezinski, once wrote in 1997 that what will set the United States apart from previous empires of the past was the American control over the internet. So it sounds like your concerns here are well-founded, and we thank you for sharing them again here at The Real News, Glenn Ford.
Thank you, and the Cubans are talking about this.
And thank you all for joining us here as well. And for all involved again here in Baltimore, I'm Jared Ball, saying as Fred Hampton used to say, to you we say peace if you're willing to fight for it. So peace, everybody, and venceremos.
Let us start our class with a prayer.
In the name of the African ancestors who began the march of humankind in the womb of Mother Africa, we ask these ancestors to be with us, to strengthen us, and give us a vision for the future. In the name of the African ancestors who began the march of humankind in the womb of Mother Africa and marched down the Nile, laying the foundations for human civilization and culture, we ask these Africans to be with us, to strengthen us, and give us a vision for the future. In the name of these African ancestors who built their pyramids and their temples to their God concepts, to their principles, and to their moral values, who left us a legacy of architectural and monumental building unparalleled in the history of the world, we ask these ancestors who built the pyramids, who built the temples, to be with us, to strengthen us, and give us a vision for the future. We ask these African ancestors who took this African culture and extended it throughout Africa, building the stone cities of Zimbabwe, building the empires of the Sudan, Ghana, Mali, and Songhai, building the Swahili city-states along the east coast of Africa, and in Christian Africa, asking King Lalibela and giving him the courage to build the 12 churches of Lalibela from the ground down, monuments to the world. We ask these Africans who spread this culture to the Dogo and to the Akan and to the Yoruba and to the Bankango and to the Zulu. We ask these Africans to be with us, to strengthen us, and give us a vision for the future. In the name of the Africans who opened up Africa, opened up the Nile Valley to other cultures and other peoples, and they came in and nurtured themselves on the African greatness. First coming in early with the ancient Hebrews, and they synthesized this culture and produced Judaism. Later coming in were the Christians, and they synthesized this culture and produced Christianity. Coming in were also the Greeks, who took the African culture, synthesized it, and produced Greek civilization. And then later, the Prophet Muhammad, and with the Arabs coming into the Nile Valley, they synthesized the culture and produced Islam. We ask these African ancestors, who as part of their legacy laid the foundations for Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and Greek civilization, to be with us, to strengthen us, and give us a vision for the future. We ask those African ancestors pulled out of Africa, taken to the hells of North America, South America, the Caribbean, maintaining the spirit of African humanity in their hearts and in their minds, and who left us this enormous legacy of struggle. We ask those Africans who resisted enslavement in the villages of Africa, who resisted enslavement in the shores of Africa, who resisted enslavement in those forts and dungeons, who resisted enslavement in the holds of those ships, who resisted enslavement when they arrived on these shores in the New World. We ask these Africans who ran into the highlands of northeast Brazil and established for 100 years the first free republic in the Americas, the Republic of Palmares, and their last great leader, Zumbi, who spared and sacrificed. We asked these Africans who replicated the Brazilian experience and went into the highlands of Jamaica and became the maroon-free communities. We asked these Africans who went into the backwoods of the Guyanas and Suriname and created free republic of the Suramaka and the Ajuka. We asked these Africans who went into the backwoods of Georgia and the swamps of Florida and moved with the Seminole Indians and resisted oppression. We ask these Africans who left us a legacy of struggle and resistance, the likes of which no one in the world has, to be with us, to strengthen us, and give us a vision for the future. We ask these Africans who created and laid for us a foundation of struggle and resistance that was passed on generation after generation, that was passed on to Harriet Tubman, who fought her way out of enslavement and became a symbol of freedom for all of us. Similarly, Frederick Douglass and hundreds of thousands of others fought their way out of enslavement. We asked those Africans who went with Boukman, Dessalines, to create the greatest revolutionary experience in the history of the world, the Haitian Revolution, leaving us a legacy, the likes of which no one else has had. We asked these Africans to be with us, to strengthen us, and give us a vision for the future.
Speak truth to the people. To identify the enemy is to free the mind. Free the mind of the people. Speak to the mind of the people. Speak truth.
We are Africans, not because we were born in Africa. We are Africans because Africa was born in us. Welcome to the space in which we are seeking truth, in which we're learning from the past, in which we're absorbing the spirit of human possibility, all the while honoring our moral obligation to remember. Reuniting the African family for development is our vision. Here now is Peter Tosh.
By the evil forces
Hide nothing from the masses of the people. Tell no lies. Expose lies whenever they are told. Mask no difficulties, mistakes, failures. Claim no easy victory.
After me, sir. I solemnly swear that the evidence I shall give, shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, So help me God, so help I Jah. So help me God, so help I Jah. So help me God, so help I Jah Rastafari. Every time I see the wicked, my belly moves. You are brought before this court for having ganja in your possession. Guilty or not guilty? Not guilty, Your Honor. How could one man do such a thing? Young Jah, it is totally impossible, Your Honor. I can remember, when I was framed and jailed, brutalized. The grudge would find me guilty for an exhibit they could not find. And every time I see a Babylon, runs cold, cold. And every time I see the wicked man, my belly moves. When I see the condition, I said it's a curse. For the past 400 years or more, things get from bad to worst. And every time I see Babylon, my blood runs cold. So cold. And every time I see them wicked men, my belly moves.
Sound of Peter Tosh, the man himself, from the album called Wanted, Dread and Alive. This track is Cold Blood. Easily one of the best artists of all times.
And every time I see Babylon, my blood runs cold. Every time I see wicked men, my belly moves, Every time I see Babylon, my blood runs cold. 10 degrees. God, so help I Jah. So help me God.
A morning to you, Jabari T. and Kuma at Jabari and Kuma, who says Gaddafi wrote in his famous Green Book, the black race will rise and conquer the world. He is the only Arab leader who came public and apologized for the contribution of Arabs to the enslavement of blacks, even though he was never part of it. Gaddafi knew the real history, that blacks are gods, that long before slavery, all races and people of the earth were worshipped, worshipped black dynasties. The world, you say, was ruled by black kings and queens? You're right about that. Gaddafi knew that one day blacks will unite and organize themselves and claim their place in the world. Thank you so much, Jabari T. and Kuma on Twitter.
When we lose our African connection, we lose our royal connection. When we disconnect ourselves from Africa, we cease to be a world people. American connection, we are a disjointed people begging for the entry into somebody else's house.
Do you? I'd like to know. Do you remember Carol Garden incident? Yes, not to remember.
Honoring my moral obligation to remember. We're joined in the studio now by our brothers and sisters of the Coral Gardens Benevolent Society. My brother Ika Tafara is the chair of the Coral Gardens Benevolent Society. Our sister Pamela Williams is the secretary of the Coral Gardens Benevolent Society. She's in the house.
If we make a fuss, they treat us like...
Our brother Bongo Jerry, and you know, Bongo Brown. You know, it's interesting because the last time she wrote Bongo Jerry, I said to her, it's not Bongo Jerry. You can't be Bongo Jerry. It's a different Bongo. Because Bongo Jerry, I just hung up from and he didn't tell me he was going to be on my program. And I don't know that he's a treasurer of a Coral Gardens Benevolent Society. So she called you Icon, right? Remember that? And worked it out, I think. And here we have it again this morning. Oh boy, Shamara. All right, so that's Bongo Brown in the house. Kenneth Manning is in the house with us, survivor of the Coral Garden. No, Kenneth Manning isn't with us. No Sykeman, is it no Sykeman? No Sykeman. Weatherburn in the house with us, witness to the Coral Gardens atrocity. You know what's interesting about that is that, you know, I don't think, I'm going to go straight to no Sykeman Weatherburn, who doesn't look old enough to have witnessed the Coral Gardens atrocity.
I am 76 years old.
Right, we're going to believe you. Yes, we're going to take.
I have identification to prove.
You might have to show me.
Yes, ma'am.
Welcome to the program. Good to have you with us this morning. Thanks again for coming in. Thank you, Ika. Thank you, my sister. We are very, very happy to have you with us in the house again. Want to get to a few things this morning. Obviously, you'll be back with us next week. We're going to say that from now because next week will be the final week before the big event. Now, for those persons who are joining us for the very first time, don't know anything about the Coral Gardens atrocities, you'll hear more about that as time goes by, but it's a series of conversations that we're having and we're picking up from last week. If we can put that in a nutshell, the atrocities at Coral Gardens, if we can put that in a nutshell, Ika, and can we do that in a minute or two? Because as we go along and hear also from the Sykeman Weatherburn, I'm sure our listeners who don't know will get a better chance of understanding what happened there. But for now, since we're picking up from last week, can we put that in a nutshell?
Yeah, in a nutshell, the atrocity stemmed from a brethren by the name of Rodolph Franklin who took revenge on the state because he was shot and left to die during the 1963 in the Coral Gardens region, and the state, including Bustamante, came down and gave a hard at that to bring in all Rastafari dead alive. So it involves that got the wider Rastafari community involved in being rounded up and being victimized and brutalized and jailed for an incident which 99.9% of them didn't have anything to do with, just hear about it because of around 3 or 4 brethren who took revenge on the state for what had happened to an individual based upon him burning coal and planting on a piece of land associated to the Rosal estate, which, you know, those were like the Bucky Masters plantation land and they didn't want him on it. So that started that incident there, where we are now calling Bad Friday. It happened during the Easter period, you know. So yes, in a nutshell, that's about it, really.
Yes. All right, and we'll hear more as we go along. For now, though, we want to pick up where we left off last week, and I really want to talk somewhat about the public defender's report before we go any further. Later on, the Minister of Justice, Delroy Chuck, will be on the phone lines. He's coming for a whole other reason, but I'm quite sure that's something that he probably wants to, well, we probably should
want him to address.
Yes, so we'll ask him that once he comes on. He's coming on at 7:30. So let us look at this now. Can we quickly talk a little bit? I don't think that's going to work, Shamara. Not for the lead person. Sorry, we're doing this as we go on. I think you have to do it in the other way around. All right. Let's look at this in terms of kind of giving our listeners an idea of what the report said, the main points coming out of the report, and to say where do we go from here in the first segment of the program here. The Public Defender's Report, Brother Aika. What are some of the main points coming out of that report that the Coral Gardens Benevolent Society has looked on?
Well, from that we looked at the apology first and foremost that came out of the report, and the apology is something that we accept. We will accept the apology, and we just don't want a little flimsy apology. We want an apology that addresses the wider community, not just the victim same way, because of its wide implication. And we looked at also what came out of it again was the issuing of a piece of land. They didn't even give us the land. They were saying that they wanted to set up some monument. They wanted to set up. They didn't want to say sorry about that. They want the government, the ministry, to deal with giving unto I and I a space where we can set up a museum and a situation like that. And
out of many, the outer many property was identified. Yes. Can you tell me about that? Was it because, all right, just bring your microphone down for me, please. The out of many property. I'd understand. My understanding is that part of the report, while a lot of the report was accepted by the Rastafari community and by the Coral Gardens Benevolent Society in particular, that whole thing surrounding the out of many property, that point has been rejected by the Coral Gardens Benevolent Society. Am I understanding right?
Well, it's not that we reject it,
Okay.
But in our report, we were contemplating on 3 different counties, as you know, Cornwall, Middlesex, and Montego, and Surrey. And as you know, that the Rastafari community, it did not just affected St. James or the west of such.
Yes.
It affected the whole Jamaica, because most Rastafari go through the stigma of what take place in Coral Gardens.
Right, and as we pointed out last week, it was an island-wide.
Island-wide.
Yes.
So we were looking as the Coral Garden Benevolent, as a matter of fact, the Rastafari community, because we meet with the Rastafari community, and we put it to them, and we were saying that we would get land in 3 different counties: Cornwall, Middlesex, and Surrey.
Okay.
So that we can put up health center, school, and cultural center, where we can
farming
situation,
yes,
where we can build the Rasta community, since as we were affected by such.
All right. Let me quote your microphone so that you can actually bring that down so both of you can share that. All right. So the understanding that we have that it has been rejected is not that it's been rejected outright. It's that it's not just for the West.
No,
we would gladly accept that plot of land, for the West, but that is just for the West.
All right, say that again for me, Bongo Bon, because a little bit off mic, yes.
We will gladly accept the outer many property, but it's for the West.
Okay, not for all.
Not for all, but we are looking at land in Middlesex as well, and Surrey as well.
Yes.
Because you must realize that we, the Rastafari, we suffer a lot of injury and discrimination because of that. So as to repair the damage, it is only fair that we get land that we can build ourselves.
So where do we get this idea from that the Coral Gardens and survivors and that Rastafari community on a whole, that you're all rejecting the outer many property?
No, and you see,
if being offered,
based upon the fact that even the citizens were involved in the whole atrocity situation, and knowing that is income tax, we don't have no problem if we receive a piece of land, even though we had wanted closer in Montego Bay, same way still. We had identified a piece of land in Montego Bay, and we would want to put up a monument and a park, representing what took place. But the outer many property which was suggested right now, I don't know if we necessarily want to refuse any land we can get, any land space we can get, even though there's a stigma to that.
But the citizenry were responsible to, so if it's even their tax money and they're paying back, we will accept.
I think the confusion comes about from the fact that we made a 13-point recommendation to the public defender.
Yes.
And what she has attempted to do is to compress some of those recommendations. And in fact, she just made about 5 recommendations at the end of her report.
Yes.
So the confusion now is in one part we recommended that we get land. For, as Bongo Brown is alluding to, for compensation to the Rastafari community.
Yes.
And in another recommendation, we asked for a specific area in the Coral Gardens, because we have been in discussion with the Coral Gardens Citizens Association to set up a museum and for cultural heritage of the Rastafari movement. Now, so the land request that we sent in terms of the recommendations, that the public defender has not addressed that at all. So now what she has recommended is the outer many property, but when you look at the language of the recommendation, we are in doubt that we will be getting land, because the recommendation is that we get that the Ministry of Tourism and the Ministry of Culture set up a museum,
set up a center
on our behalf. So we don't know how much autonomy we will have over such an institution based on the wording of it.
Yes.
We don't know, and there is no mention of the land. So in that sense, we are saying then if you are shifting our recommendation from the Coral Gardens community where the incident occurred, that would be more appropriate for that area. Would have been more appropriate for us to set up a museum.
Yes.
And if you're going to allow the Ministry of Tourism and Culture to control our heritage and our because there's no reference made that we are going to be in control.
It represents a situation like Pinnacle, where the tourism and the heritage, the government own the heritage side, basically, and is in control and just using the Rastafari culture as a pretext to brand Jamaica same way. It's something similar to that I think it represents.
Right. So it is that idea then that you would need to
get clarification on.
All right, and I'm sure that we'll have some more conversations on that. But for the rest of the recommendations in the report, the Public Defender's report, where does the Benevolent Society stand on that?
Well, there's one particular recommendation that we are. The one recommendation that we set up a cooperative, and we be allowed to grow ganja, and that is an if and when the law is passed. So that is conditional. So that recommendation is kind of a little bit is not concrete, because the law is not in place for us to benefit from that. However, what we are saying is that if you have not recommended for us to get land, how are we going to cultivate? So there must not recommended for us to get land. How are we going to cultivate? So there must be a recommendation for us to get land as a community in order for us to do anything like that.
So obviously, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, there's also the recommendation of the trust fund, the $10 million in the trust fund to the victims, which we think is totally inadequate, and we are not seeing the victims in particular using a trust fund situation to achieve compensation. We need them to get it straight. Whatever them decide to give them give them straight. My understanding of our trust fund work is of interest. So every month or so they will be giving them this little pittance, So we are not in agreement with that.
While the horse is going, while the grass is growing, the horse is starving. Because here are the elders, some of them dying as we go along. And if you're going to put a trust fund in, and it is as if you're saying that you as an elder not capable of handling whatever compensation is due to you. Whereas they need it now.
So lots to discuss, lots to talk about. The report has been passed on to Parliament. Granted, there's a new Parliament on board now, in place now, but What's the plan then in terms of how the Benevolent Society will deal from here or with these recommendations?
Well, like we said, we need to engage some legal minds also, and like we said, we are going to try to stimulate the discussion with this present parliamentarian system here right now, Minister of Justice, and personnel like that still, by letting them be aware that there is this recommendation that we have been, and they know about the whole struggle of the Rastafari community for compensation. So now that it's in Parliament, and we think it's the appropriate government in position right now, we wanting them to discuss the matter like immediately. You know, we are in a non-drought waiting thing, and we will do anything what we need to do, demonstrations to bring it to the fore, you know, write letters to the relevant authority, because we just intend to exhaust this aspect of the struggle again, like how we now exhaust the public defenders aspect. So if there's anything now, we can move on to an international situation, bringing in international forces to assist us in
yes, and I think we should talk about the fact that we set up this symposium for the commemoration event. We have in the afternoon, in the evening, we'll be having a symposium on the public defender's report. Public defender herself has promised to be there, and we will be having lawyers and legal minds on the panel.
Yes.
So that out of that,
when is that going to be? On the
25th? Between 7 and 9, there will be the symposium.
All right.
Yes, and we have like
this
Miguel.
Is critical, yeah.
Yeah, we have Miguel Lan as one lawyer that will be on there, and Leroy Beans is a person from is working in the legal department in the University of the West Indies. You know, so, and the public defender will be there, like Sister Nanny says, same way still. So whatever come out of that discussion will help to shape the direction in which we go, same way too. We'll use that as a part of the directive force.
Yes. And obviously,
one of the things that the public defender leave out our report, which is a 13 points report.
Let me take a quick break and come back to that report. Quick break.
Sign up to receive your mortgage statements via email, and you could win big in the NHT's Got Mail promotion. Win up to 9 months mortgage holiday. Visit www.nht.gov.jm for details. Entries close March 24. The temperature by the NHT is
now 26 degrees Celsius right here in Oterias.
While I take care of my family, friends, home, and work, Total Woman takes care of me. It's Sagicor Life Solution for women like me. The time by Total Woman from Sagicor Life is
now a minute after 7 o'clock. You're inside of the Africa Forum, Running African. In this segment of the program, we're speaking with the members of the Coral Gardens Benevolent Society, looking at the Public Defender's report and looking ahead to the activities that are planned for the commemoration and the remembering of the 53rd. It's 53 years now since the massacre at Coral Gardens, the atrocities against Rastafari. So you were saying,
yes, as I was saying, the Public Defender leave out our report, you know.
Yes.
Our recommendation. And one of the things in our recommendation was that it's not just the victim supposed to get recompense, but if the families as well.
Yeah.
Because, you know, these brethren go through a lot of tribulation, no work, and if they cannot afford to find money to suffice their family,
yes,
then automatically their family will suffer as well.
And there's documented evidence of that.
Yes.
It's an ongoing situation too, even to this very day.
Definitely.
You know,
so we are not just looking at just the victims alone,
but the community aspect,
as well as the families. They should get recompense as well.
And that is why our recommendations are so wide, because we realize how it impacts upon the community. While the report is trying to focus on just the victims alone, basically in terms of compensation, but we realize the impact it had on the community. That is why in our report we even suggest like scholarships, tertiary scholarship, primary school scholarships, you know, for across the board.
Repatriation.
And all those kind of things.
Of the recommendation as well.
Yeah.
You know,
because a lot of the victims that a lot of people that come from Africa, you know, they are still revolting to go back home.
Yes.
So this is the concept that a lot of the Rasta brethren carry up to this day, repatriation. So that should be left out.
Yeah, and the fact to recognize the legitimacy of the philosophy within the whole Rastafari order or liberty, in that when their youths go to school, no vaccination if they refuse to, and that we shape the curriculum pertaining to Rastafari that is being taught in the schools. So some of those recommendations were ignored, and we consider those very important same way, So in addressing the Coral Garden atrocity compensation situation, we definitely look on a broad-based situation, because we know that there's a lot of discrimination and things that take place widely coming out of the Coral Garden situation. And so we try to see if we could get some amount of redress based upon that same way in a wider sense,
So I don't think the public defender should leave out our recommendation instead of just putting our recommendation alone. Our one should be taken in consideration as well.
And I suppose that after the symposium, we'll have more information in terms of where you go from here, right? And even in terms of, because since this is with Parliament now, the thing is not for Parliament to hold on to this and to drag their feet, but that Rastafari and members of the Coral Gardens Benevolent Society are part of the conversation.
Exactly.
Definitely.
All right, so we'll watch that and see where that goes then.
Yes, giving them some time, because if we don't hear within a certain time, we're going to have to take another stand.
Yes.
Because this is something that we are not going to forget.
Well, Shamara, let us just, Minister Chuck is coming on to talk about a few issues, not necessarily this, but obviously because this also falls under his purview, that he's going to be on at 7:30. If you hang on, you might be able to throw a few questions at him. I hope he's okay with that. Let us see if we can do that, if he's okay with it. All right.
He should be, because we intend to send him some information, some letter to engage the process same way still somewhere along the line shortly after the commemoration still. So he better get ready.
Without scaring him away, Mr. Chuck, I hope you're okay with the whole thing. We're going to work with you on this. All right. Well, let us just quickly then go to, we have in the studio, two elders now, because we're joined by another elder in the studio. Kenneth Manning, survivor of the Coral Gardens atrocities. And we have, as we said before, Nasaikman Weatherburn. Nasaikman, let us start with you and tell us about, we know we don't have a whole lot of time. Yes, but your own experience at Coral Gardens. Where were you?
I was in Montego Bay at 23 years of age when this thing occurred. And what I don't like, what I come to do here is to explain what really caused it.
Yes.
And to explain that the Rastas of that time, I hear a lot of talk about Rasta rising up, uprising of Rasta. It was not an uprising of Rasta. It was one Rasta man by the name of Radolf. We also call him Punaidi.
Yes. So you knew him?
Yes, he used to leave when him burn the coal. He used to leave it at my yard and come down in the weekends, come sell it down by the gully side. Now, what really caused it? In those days, you have three kinds of Rasta man. You have two kinds that comb them here. Them call them plucky or comb some. And you have the dreadlocks Rasta man. Punaidi was one of those dreadlocks. The Rasta man.
Sorry, but to hear that clear up a thing with us before him go back again. Most people are saying that Rodolph, we call Punaidi, was a comb Rasta, but
he was a dreadlock. He was a dreadlocks. Good. The man that owned the land, Bazatan, is a comb head Rasta man, Bazatan. A man that name Malinu, Captain Malinu, a white man from France, buy this piece of land for Bazatan. Bazatan used to drive him, he's his driver, but he's a comb head Rasta man, Bazatan.
Yes.
Now Bazatan and Punaidi go together, they were friends. But a two different kind of Rasta man.
Yes.
So Bazatan tell Punaidi that him can work the land at Coral Gardens.
Yes.
You have the ranger man. Whenever Punai burn the coal, he used to carry to my yard, and he used to talk to my mother at Albion Lane. And he used to tell my mother about this ranger man where they harass him. Tell him say the land enough a bars. And he keep burning the coal. And so this ranger man at about 2 or 3 years after they have them argument, carry a policeman and shoot him up. Shoot up Punaidi. Believe him say him dead. And when they go for ambulance and so, him not dead. So then take him to hospital and give him plastic tripe. Now, when it come to court, it was proved now that is his friend land. So they couldn't let him go. So they gave him 6 months of prison. So when him come out of prison, he still burn the coal upon the land now because it proved himself a bad land and a friend land. So he keep carrying the coal to my yard. And he keep saying that in a gosso. Nobody know, my mother no understand what he must say, but him keep saying in a gosso because he start to get sting. When he talk to you, any word him say with tea, you smell the stench coming from him and his belly swell. He must wear a big belt. So that's where it come from.
Yes. So he was literally dying inside.
Yes. So it's all in the name of revenge.
Yes.
You have three of my age boys that go with him that police also harass, smoking weed and so on. So they go with him. Carlton Bowen, Noel Bowen, Felix Waldron. Now, Carlton Bowen, Noel Bowen and Felix Waldron got killed at Carroll Garden with Punaidi. And police too got killed at Carroll Garden. Bustamante came down after that happened, after the killing. Bustamante came down and said the police must carry in all Rastaman within the radius of 5 miles of Montego Bay, dead or alive. Now that is when other Rastas get involved. Because the Rastas that they tell you about, them not carry no form of weapon that them days. Them just wear one piece of khaki trousers. Some of them not angle money. Some not eat nothing, go up on fire. Those were peaceful people. So that's
but they, who were now hunted by the state.
Hunted by
to pay for the deeds of three others.
Of four others. Yes, ma'am.
And then how you got caught up in it? I mean, you were close to Punaidi, who's Rudolph.
Yes.
Right. You used to come at your house and so on. So what happened with you personally?
I was free to follow the police jeep, go where them go make and go show places where them take Rasta from, the peaceful Rasta them. I was not a Rasta at the time. So I was free to go around and follow the police and look what they're doing.
So you observed.
Yes. Yes.
You're yes, and an objective witness to us, not a Rastafari.
Not a Rastafari.
But seeing.
I was 23 years old.
Yes.
And him never have any beard, he look like.
You never have no beard.
Well, they take up any. You have a man by the name of he used to be a butcher, Verley Coons. He drive on the jeep, and anybody with Rasta will just trim and point them out. So this is one.
Because Rastas were now trimming your beard.
Yes. And even.
So you saw Bustamante to you were telling
us. Yes, man. Mr. Bustamante, he can't carry go show when come out. We starting the armored car stop. And where I was standing. And when him come out of the thing and with him 2 white angle gun and him breastplate thing.
So him 2 guns on him hip.
2 white
so when everybody gun. Say when him have him 2 gun on him hip, it is true.
Yeah. 2 white angle gun.
Yes.
Yes, on the hip. And so bringing in all Rasta man within the radius of 5 miles of Montego Bay, dead or alive. That is a word when it was any police and gather around the armored car.
Dead or alive?
Dead or alive. Yes. To be truthful, I never, after the Rasta them were then killed, the one Rasta, not Rasta them. Because Carlton, Noel, and Felix Waljan, they were not Rastas. These three were three young men about my age, about 23, about my age.
Yes.
And me and them go school.
They weren't Rastas.
No, they weren't Rastas.
But them did help Rudolph.
Yes, through revenge, because police also smoke them weed and thing. Well, we smoke weed and.
So at the end of the day, it was just one Rasta.
One Rasta,
who
Rodolph.
went out for revenge.
One Rasta.
Right.
Rodolph.
So Boston never declared war on the rest of the state because the other three weren't Rastas.
No,
they never declared war on all of Jamaica. Non-Rasta Jamaica then.
Right.
One Rasta involved with
one Rasta.
One Rasta.
And him declare war on
all Rastas.
It's Running African, and we're going to be talking with the minister, our new Minister of Justice, who is also a member of Parliament for St. Andrew Northeastern, Minister Delroy Chuck. I know there are lots of questions. A change of government in the middle of the talk around medical marijuana here in Jamaica, but also at a time when on the table in Parliament now, submitted to Parliament, is a report from the Public Defender re the Coral Gardens incident. Now we're standing by to speak with the Minister. And let me go straight to the phone lines where Minister Delroy Chuck is standing by. Minister Chuck, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the Africa Forum.
Hi, good morning.
You know,
I hope you all will go to church service afterwards.
Minister Chuck, I'm going to tell you something, and we welcome you to the Africa Forum family. This is our church.
Yes,
and I guarantee you that now that you're a member of the family, this is where you'll stop. For now.
I see, no problem.
All right, anyway, thank you so much for being on the forum with us. I do have in the studio with me the members of the Coral Gardens Benevolent Society, and I hope you don't mind that I've asked them to
absolutely not.
Okay, brilliant. All right, but let me start with the ganja, medical marijuana, and all that has gone into that. The previous administration made some progress and much promise also to regulate the hemp and medical marijuana industry in Jamaica, as our listeners know. From your own perspective, though, what do you envisage as your own trajectory towards continuing and completing this process?
Well, there's no doubt that the legislation that was passed has opened up great opportunities for us to pursue not only medical marijuana, but marijuana as a sacrament, especially for the Rastafarian religion, and also for personal use. So you know that the legislation allows for each household to grow 5 plants, which they can use for personal use. And for medical marijuana, the opportunities are endless. It's the question, once it is, the focus is on treatment and the benefit to persons suffering from a variety of illnesses that can benefit from the use of marijuana. As I say, you have major opportunities there. Now, obviously, we have, as minister, I have to walk between the raindrops, between our legislation and our international treaties. We cannot ignore the international treaties that we have entered into, and our major trading partner, the United States of America, is obviously watching us closely how we walk through these raindrops. So we don't want to gain the wrath of, our international partners, but at the same time, we must enjoy the rights and freedoms allowed by the legislation. So to the extent that our people should be allowed to use marijuana, to use it as a sacrament, and to benefit from its medicinal use, we must be able to enjoy it.
At the same time, treaty aside, and when I say aside, I mean in particular pertaining to the United States, several states in the USA, also in Canada and some Latin American countries we have found, have actually legalized marijuana, pretty close to it.
Yes,
so what are
there's no doubt.
Yes, go ahead.
There's no doubt about that. I mean, Uruguay, for example, has completely legalized marijuana, so there are no restrictions. And in, I think, at least 2 states in the United States have effectively legalized marijuana once you can use or smoke the marijuana within certain public spaces. Now, that is something that we need to look at, the extent that we can allow the personal use of marijuana in limited public spaces, because we certainly can look at what is done in Colorado and Washington State and ensure that we are not unduly restricted. Bear in mind, once you're not going to engage in the export or major industrial development of marijuana, I think you are within the confines or limits of the legislation. You see, so the legislation allows you to grow 5 plants, for example. Now, I think where you would get into some problems is if you, instead of sugar, you have hundreds of acres of marijuana. That may well come. Let me make the point.
And why? Exactly, because I was asking. You do say problems.
At the moment, we have to do it slowly, because there's no doubt in my mind that the United States may well remove the ban on marijuana, because all the studies have shown that it is more beneficial rather than disastrous to users. Now, once you use it in a manner to assist you medicinally, it is beneficial. So that all of the, should I say, the arguments against its use are now dying. And there are strong arguments, especially for persons suffering from a variety of illnesses, that marijuana is beneficial. And let us face it, we discovered that decades ago when we found that marijuana was beneficial, for, cataracts and a number of other medical use. I mean, Professor Lockhart and others, and West, they did some serious research on marijuana. And in fact, the research continues.
And this takes us to an interesting point, because following the developments here in Jamaica and what our own situation is regarding the decriminalization of marijuana and the emphasis that we're putting on medical marijuana in particular, and I've been to quite a few of the events and the symposia and so on. It seems to me, and I've been pretty concerned and very vocal about that in this space, that there is a disregard to some extent of the traditional and small ganja growers, and also there are concerns about the and my own personal observations now about indigenous strains, whether or not these will be secure of GMOs, for example, and also of market access. I know I'm asking a whole lot there, but
sure.
but yes.
What is important to see is that a lot of research is going on to ensure that you get the best marijuana, that you get a reasonable, what they call THC content. And I have no doubt that we must allow that research to take place to the extent that we can cross-pollinate the ganja plants to make sure we get the best strain, so that indeed I see and people anticipate that we could get a marijuana tourist trade where we can highlight that Jamaica has some of the best marijuana. I think it was well known that the Sensimilia marijuana was certainly one of the best available. And a lot of tourists came searching for Sensimilia and got it illegally at the time. But we hope that in the near future we can say that it's something I anticipate. How we do it is still to be worked out. We're in various places in our tourist resorts. We can allow our indigenous growers of marijuana to set up, should I call them pot shops? You have them in places like in many of the northern European cities, especially in Holland, where you have shops that you can go in and smoke pot.
But I know that. But what guarantees can you give us at this early stage of your tenure again, that traditional and small ganja growers, that their local strains will be protected, because I think that we are in danger here when you look at that. And if we need to come back to talk about this again, it seems to me as if that might be a consideration going forward. And also market access to not just ganja, but ganja products. Can you give us any guarantees at this stage?
I don't think I having got into the ministry, I see that there is a council of Rastafarians advising the then minister. I hope that council can continue.
That very same council, are you looking to change?
No, I don't know them. I've never met them, but I certainly would like to meet them. I know Minister Henry has a very strong attachment to the indigenous growers of ganja, the Rastafarians.
And he's coming on right after you, actually, so we can also tell him that, yes.
You can be assured that I will take some counsel from him, because he has been very close to the Rastafarians, and certainly their indigenous output must be given some prominence and priority when we think of setting up, should I call them pot shops, where people can, where they can sell their indigenous product, and different ganja would be it, whatever. To tourists who might come in and want to enjoy the tourist trade. Now, what you're saying is that you don't want, if we legitimize the sale of marijuana, that the big business come and take it over.
Yes.
Which is, that happens when you get into economics. Big business very often take over small businesses.
That's happening that's not happening right now, Minister. I witnessed that, and this is something that is in process right now as we speak. So that it seems to me as if one of the challenges that we face as a country is how to protect our local products.
Well, I must say this though.
Yes.
I must say this. Our local indigenous growers, be they small, must recognize that protectionism is not going to work. At the end of the day, it is competition, and your best product will emerge. So if you have
a level playing field.
No, I
at least a level playing field.
No, absolutely.
Yes.
But you see, one cannot deny that if someone comes in and set up a better pot shop than your pot shop, that he's going to emerge more successful than you do.
Well,
but if you have a good
that's an interesting, yes.
If you have a good product and it is well known, then wherever you sell it, people will chase you down. So the most important thing is not only the product firstly, that it must be good, but you must provide good, honest, strong service to your potential customers.
Yes, but there's protectionism coming from the other end, where farmers, say for example the U.S. farmers, are subsidized. So how do we balance that when they come in?
I'm not too sure that the marijuana farmers are subsidized.
I think that we should look at Monsanto. And when we're talking about this, because Monsanto is one of the biggest lobbyists in the world, and they do manage to get what they want. So when we have GMO products, for example, flooding our
but one thing we certainly would not do is to be importing marijuana into Jamaica.
Oh, but I think we're already doing that.
No, but that was I would certainly work very strongly to stop that happening.
Isn't that happening already?
The seeds are coming in.
Yes.
May I just say though,
same difference.
I don't have a problem with you getting in seed and strengthening our product.
No, but how does GMO strengthen anything? How does genetically engineer?
What I'm really saying is that you want the best product. Now, to the extent if we can demonstrate that our seeds and propagation of our marijuana is a better marijuana than, say, seeds coming from the United States, then we must stop it. In other words, if we can demonstrate that the seeds coming in will, should I say, water down, or should I say,
contaminate
our product, then we must stop it. And I would support. May I just say?
And
the
that is
seeds
what
that
we
are
are
coming
saying.
in now are probably coming in illegally. I don't think it is coming in legitimately. So that to the extent that we can stop it and ensure that if they do come in, they come in and properly researched before they're allowed into the trade. In other words, if you know where it is coming in, let me know, because it cannot be coming in illegally. Okay?
And at
so
the
we
same
need
time,
to
they
stop
need
it.
to, they need
But
to
this
encourage.
is discussed in a public space, and this is a plan to import that, and I think that this is quite above board in terms of the legality of it. Go ahead. One of our sisters want to say something to you.
Sure.
Pamela. Yeah,
Greetings, Minister.
Hi. Morning.
Morning. When you just spoke about protectionism, I think we have to just watch some of the terms we use, because originally Irish potato was an indigenous product here, and now we are importing potato seeds, and the position is that whenever we cannot get potato seeds to import at an effective cost, or cost effectively for us to produce, we have problems. Now this is what happens to us as a developing country time and time again, where it's not that we're dealing with protectionism, but what we need to do is to facilitate the development of our local producers. As a government, we have to make a policy of that, so that, for example, where we had one time the Sensimilia that you just spoke about, because of government policy, it was
destroyed. A lot of it was destroyed. Yeah.
Exactly. And now that we are more or less flying the gate on ganja, what is happening to our local producers is that we are being inundated with imported seeds and imported technology, and we cannot compete with it, because what is going to happen is that, and right now happening, is that they have hybrids coming in, and they have the technology to apply to it, and so they are now producing at a much more efficient level than our local producers, so we cannot compete.
And it is greenhouse.
This is greenhouse.
Yes.
So what we need to do as a government is identify this and facilitate the development of our local people so that we can compete.
Well, I have no problem with what you're saying, because at this time, this being a new industry that can grow enormous potential, at this time we need to protect our local growers. But at the same time, please, let us not avoid research. And if the research involves looking at other seeds from abroad that can give us the best products in this country, let us not say because it comes from abroad we must not look at it.
Right, and that's not always saying,
we must
Minister.
also do research on our local products.
Yes.
So that if our seeds are better seeds than the outside, we should look at also exporting some of our seeds.
Yes.
Okay?
And
so
we don't
in
want
other words, you want the best product.
Exactly. We don't want to belabor the point, but we do have concerns about genetically engineered products coming into Jamaica and what the policy is. And I know this is not necessarily your portfolio, so we leave it for when we talk with the Minister of Agriculture on that. The Cannabis Licensing Authority Board, I don't know if that board is going to be dissolved or it has been dissolved, and will it be restructured?
I don't think it has started to operate to the best of my knowledge, has it?
Well, yeah, I should have, because they say April 4. Isn't April 4 that the first licenses will be granted?
That's right. So it hasn't really started to issue licenses as yet.
Okay. All right.
So, I mean, as you quite rightly say, I think it is April that it will start functioning and issue licenses.
So the current members are remaining, because we know boards have been dissolved with the change.
To be frank with you, I have not. I think you may know that I don't have an office as yet, so I've not been.
I know that.
I have not really been looking at any boards, to be frank with you. I have a brief, and which I'm still reading, and there are many files sitting around that I need a desk to go and examine the files properly.
We'll give you office space. I give you office space at the RFM office in Kingston. Let me know if you want it.
No, I think in a week or so I should have proper office.
Yes, I'm kidding.
I'm quite prepared to return and discuss the licensing authorities, because I think it's due for next month. Okay. And by then I should be up and running with my knowledge of what is happening.
Okay. All right. So we'll welcome you back.
Sure.
We're going to throw this out to you. Whether you can respond now or also look at it and come back and talk to us about this. And it is the Public Defender's report into the atrocities at Coral Gardens. That report has been sent to the Parliament. We have been discussing it here. What, if anything, can you tell me in terms of how you will proceed regarding this?
No, let me just say this.
Yes.
One of the things that my government, and in fact, when I was served for a short while as Minister of Justice in 2011, we must highlight and promote the rights and freedoms of the Jamaican people. And where they have been breached and infringed in any way, there must be a level, if not compensation, a certain amount of apologies. Because, we can't move forward unless we recognize that wrongs have been committed. Now, how we deal with the wrongs that have been committed and admitted then is another matter. But at the end of the day, certainly what the public defenders highlighted, I will have discussion with her on it and see how we can at least address some of what was clearly wrongs committed and in Coral Gardens. And let us face it, lots of wrongs have been committed in Jamaica. We must redress and compensate where necessary some of these wrongs. But at the end of the day, we must forever move forward, emphasizing that the rights and freedoms of our people must be promoted, upheld, and protected at all times. So when we see wrongdoings that have taken place, we must highlight them and ensure that they don't happen again.
Mr. Minister, sorry to cut this, but just like how you intend to engage the public defender in discussing the report, we would suggest that you try and engage a delegation from the Rastafari community to do the same thing also. So that
I have no problem with that. I
think that is the way to go, really and truly,
If you know me, I am a very open-minded person. I listen to everyone. My shoulders are very broad. You can be critical of me and I can respond appropriately. And I'm quite prepared to meet any delegation, any Jamaican, because this minister and all the ministers of the government will be servants of the people.
So the process.
When you're ready, you put together. I mean, give me some time to get in office, right? And soon after.
But let me try and understand.
We can arrange a meeting. Yeah?
Let me try and understand the process of this report in Parliament. What should happen is what? A discussion. How does that work to get that?
What may well happen is that once a report is laid, it is debated. Okay.
Yeah.
And once it's debated in Parliament, it might well be sent to a committee to say what actions should be taken. Okay. So I must admit, I don't think it has been laid in Parliament as yet.
I think the public defender say it has been presented.
Yes, the last time we spoke to her, which was about a few weeks ago, she said it has now been sent to the Parliament, and
I don't think it has been actually laid.
Okay.
In the House. It may have been sent to the Parliament, but to the best of my knowledge, it has not been laid in the House. Once it is laid in the House, it is debated.
And how does that get laid into the House?
I think it's a matter for the relevant minister. It could be me, who will present a paper and attach it as a report to be discussed by the House. So I must admit, I have not seen it come into the House as yet, but it is something I will check and see where it is at the moment. You see, if it is sent to the Parliament may well refer it to the relevant minister.
Which will be your department?
Likely. And once it is sent here to my ministry, we will lay it in Parliament. And once it's laid in Parliament, a debate takes place. And once out of the debate will come certain recommendation as to what is to be done. Oftentimes it is recommendation as to what is to be done. Oftentimes it is, if the recommendations are clear, then it is acted on. If they are not clear, it may be sent to another committee to say what actions should be taken.
So what if some of the recommendations that are made does not meet the approval of the Rastafari community? How do we redress that?
To be fair, the it may well be, if it is sent to a small committee, the Rastafarian committee may well be asked to come and address some of those points. So you know that, once we send it to a committee, it is then open to the public for the relevant stakeholders or interested parties to come and give their views. Okay? So that is always possible, that you could be invited to highlight aspects of the report or disagree with aspects of the report. In an open society as ours, we try to listen to as many views as may be possible. It may well be, and I must admit, at the end of the day, you might want X, and we say, no, we can't give you X, we give you half of X. Yeah. Okay?
Negotiations.
Once it is transparent and we come to a position, at the end of the day, we have to give and take, and in the give and take, not everybody is satisfied.
All right, so quite a few things on your desk, Minister.
Yes.
I know, and not least of which is everything that touches on our cultural and our right. The thing though that I'd want from you is that once you settle into your office and looked at these issues that we're talking about, as you say, is to return and have a conversation with us where we can open the phone line. So we'd like to invite you to the studio.
Absolutely, no problem.
To have this conversation.
Way down in Ocho-Rios? No.
You are going to enjoy it. I guarantee you. Use China Highway and you see how quick you get here.
Okay, no, I have no problem. Maybe one weekend and then in Ocho-Rios and come over.
Yes. All right, thank you very much, Minister Chuck. Thank
my
you.
pleasure. Take care now. Bye.
All right, you too. All right, Minister Delroy Chuck there. Any comments on what you have heard here, and are you just giving him time to see?
We just give him time to settle in.
Yes.
There's only one thing though I wish. There's only one thing though I wish. Well, we will take it upon ourselves to send in our recommendation as well.
I think so. Yeah.
Yes, that he can put it together and then they can have a debate on it.
And our recommendation should be in the Minister of Justice office too, because we had sent it to the previous one.
Well, so it's already there.
But
what
I think we should do it again.
Yes.
Now that we have a new minister.
Yes. And what we're hearing about his office,
we don't know where it is yet.
Yes, I think we might have to send another copy of the public defender's report too. Yes, but we're very happy to continue this conversation with the minister, and not just to talk, but to see something being done, because we're not really who we say we are. We're what we do.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, so action is what we're
louder than words.
Yes.
And, all right. And now is the time to repair the damage too, because we see that them debating the ganja thing. These brethren, remember, after the atrocity of the Coral Garden, not the price of the time you're doing the sentence.
The sentence,
yes, they might up the sentence of ganja.
Yes. So the justice has not been served.
Right.
And that is the bottom line. We are honoring our moral obligation to remember. And remembering and remembering don't mean just recalling it to memory. It means identifying what your purpose is in ensuring that justice is done. That's what it means when we say we honor that moral obligation to remember. We don't just recall to memory, but we stand in the space on our purpose to ensure that justice is done. Elder, yeah man, give thanks. Thank you so much for coming in. We're not going to say much now. I don't know how much we're going to be able to get from you, but a survivor at Coral Gardens. Greetings.
Greetings, Mom.
Yes, how you doing?
I can't tell you I'm fine for half your walk with stick.
Yes.
But Rastafari see by.
Yes.
But it wasn't Rastafari dead already. And when I start praise Rastafari, I'm a different man. I have a different feeling of myself. And
Minister Mike Henry joins us on the phone lines. Minister Henry, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining. You're always up and early. We want to think that the Africa Forum is your church, but hey. All right, thank you so much. Well, we also have in the studio, and I hope you don't mind, members of the Coral Gardens Benevolent Society who have asked to stay on while we speak with the Minister of Justice, and then now with yourself about some of the issues that concern us all. All right. Minister, one of the first things I want to go to, because as I know you're an advocate of reparations, seriously, the CARICOM Reparations Commission is in place, the Caribbean, the Jamaica Reparations Commission, and so on. What can you tell us about where this is going? And I know it's not under your purview, but I know that you have your eyes on this. What's your own thoughts on this? What's your thinking?
I would not say it's not under my purview. I'm expecting the Attorney General of the new government to address the matter, to look at the various proposals made in relation to reparations. I am myself pursuing with Mr. Frank Fitz a position which needs to be addressed by the government. It shouldn't be done personally, so that all the various recommendations that have come, whether it's from the National Reparations Committee of Jamaica and or CARICOM, must be addressed by the new government through the procedures that really are being recommended or need to be addressed. As reparations is a must, and we're still awaiting that development overall. So I will have to work my way through the system overall as a cabinet minister, but I've spoken already to the Attorney General that this matter has to be addressed, and the substantive minister is Minister Grange. So the issues have to be addressed and looked at. Parliament having made a decision, so we now have a political decision to pursue, and we must then decide how we're going to pursue it and look at the recommendations made, assess that position. Insofar as I'm able to personally raise the matter with it, I've already done so internally. And let us look at it. The Minister of Justice, I didn't hear him this morning, and overall. So we have to look at all of these issues, and as a responsible government and a responsive government, and if we want to move to prosperity, then we must reclaim what is rightfully ours and the abuse and privileges that have been denied to people in their recognition. So my position hasn't changed, and my hope and vision for that settlement to make us recognize ourselves remains very strong.
And the minister did say, particularly on the issue of the decriminalization and the continued development of the medical marijuana industry here in Jamaica, that he'll also be leaning on your expertise as somebody who has worked so closely with this, for example, the Rastafari community. How do you feel about that?
No, well, as I said, my position on these things haven't changed over the 40 years I've been in politics and representation. For instance, you just said decriminalize. I don't believe in decriminalization, something that was never criminal in the first place. My position rests very strongly with the basis of the fact that it's a sacrament of the Rastafari faith, and that in that context it must be so addressed. The medicinal aspect is research and development, which we must go carefully with. We are the herbalists in all of this, but it doesn't fall under my portfolio. But insofar as my voice will be heard, insofar as my position is not shift or change, that of course is the way that I stand at the moment overall.
All right.
Go ahead.
Well, let's move now to Coral. I know that we're going to go to Coral Gardens, and then I want to ask you another question, which we're not supposed to ask you about, but I'll have you address it, and it has to do with the China and Jamaica and so on. But let's talk about Coral Gardens. Also of a strong voice. You have been over the years, have apologized personally. The public defender has recommended that the state apologized. It didn't happen under the last administration, and this discussion has been in the public sphere forever. As you know, we have talked about it many, many times here, you and me. So does it make a difference now that once again the administration that is in power is the administration you belong to, and that is also the JLP administration? What else can we do that's different from what we've been doing for the very longest time?
That will take a bit of analysis very quickly to be done. Why do I say that? The basic point is there can be no denial of my position and my personal position. But as you know, government is run by a cabinet. The cabinet has a number of members. There has the unanimity of approach in relation to it, and that has to be assessed against all the other issues. One thing is for sure, my voice and my vote will always be the same. Now, in that context, of course, I don't think that the principle remains that we must compensate and reparate for the issues that we have done which are wrong. When I made the apology, I made it when I was chairman of the Jamaica Labour Party on behalf of the Jamaica Labour Party and my own personal position. And in that context, we must move on now to recognize what we must do. So it really rests in those ministries and then rests in a collective decision that can quantify and relate what needs to be addressed. And I'll continue to seek to bring that wherever it's possible within the portfolios that I have to address.
So hearing that, Mr. Henry, Mike Henry, and hearing the Minister of Justice, it seems like you'll have to put on your red, gold, and green hat again, like when you come into commemoration and do a member's motion to keep it active within the Parliament here for us.
Well, you know, I've had so many fights in my life. and taken so many roads that are rivers that really are difficult to cross. But the one thing is for certain in my life, they have a consistency of purpose. And if the thing is right, then I'm going to continue to fight for it. If that means that I have to be out of the way, then I have to be out of the way.
So that means you could do
it in motion.
Oh, yeah.
But then the persons who have the job to do must do their job now. So that, for instance, the public defender, right? Must begin to be what should I say?
But she already put in her
come with a strong position. Take it to the legal aspect. I have said for reparations, I'm willing to take the Queen to her own court.
What else can the public defender do? She did a report. She submitted it to Parliament. What else can she do at this stage? I spoke to her recently and I did ask her that.
And you must remember, I should probably not be me alone on the public defender. Civil society now must begin to also react. So that basically it's a matter that as long as we remain skeptical of our ancestry through Africa, as long as we denigrate the Afrocentricity of our life, as long as we have taken away the religion, the worship, the belief, the ideas that relate, that is civil society, which is overwhelmed in many instances by the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant approach to thinking. Therefore, you also need your universities and others to further take it to a level to where we can be guided through the political structure. What I did in terms of taking it and having a motion passed in Parliament is giving us now the political right, which is beaming back on me and on others. The politicians themselves must relate that they're not just paying lip service to issues.
Minister Mike Henry, greetings. I am Pamela Williams, Secretary of the Rastafari Coral Gardens Benevolent Society. Now, based on our previous discussions with members of Parliament in St. James and our general research, what we have come to is that the public defender can submit a report to Parliament, but the report can sit there for as long as Parliament allows it to sit there. But we understand that if a member of Parliament is prepared to take a private member's motion, then that would bring it to the fore for discussion within Parliament. I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, my position is that I'm going to do a more in-depth study of what you're saying here. My position is Parliament has already spoken on reparations per se, about chattel slavery. If Parliament has already made the political decisions, then the politicians should not be afraid to sit at the table, take all these reports, analyze them, and make the legal aspect of government, Attorney General, Minister of Justice, etc., sit down and decide on what is necessary. The apology must flow. The compensation must be relative to what it is. And if that is not done, then equally, as far I'm speaking of, there's not enough, what should I say, legal knowledge, but perhaps the Coral Gardens grouping has to take it to court too. And perhaps they should need to take it to the International Court of Justice.
Okay, well, we have been trying to exhaust the local level before we really step over into the international arena.
Well, that is why, if you permit me,
yes,
rather than being confrontational in all the issues, whether it be reparations for chattel slavery or whether it be reparations for Coral Gardens, I think what we need is a unanimity of approach, which is reasonable enough in terms of arriving at what it is that must follow.
And that is what we are trying to get from the government. That is what we are trying to get from the government. That
is what I will, and that is what I will pursue with the government. Just like if Britain cannot pay me for chattel slavery to pay the slaves, then there's a thing called debt for equity investment. There is a whole aspect of things you can arrange. But first admit your sin, and then move next to the reparations that must flow from a commonality of purpose.
Mr. Mike Henry.
Okay, this is Bongo
Mr.
Brown.
Mike Henry. My respect, sir. Bongo Brown is my name, sir. Now, I'm looking at a situation wherein all the talking and talking and talking, the elders are getting weary, they need medical treatment, and they are dying without any recompense, and it's not healthy for these brethren. We have a brethren here right now, he's showing us his hand, where him get beaten, and he can't afford to even walk, his foot is hurting him. So at the same time, the people talking and talking, he's so dead. We need some action. I know that you are just one person, but we need...
It's not just that I'm one person, but the reality of Coral Gardens has manifested itself in the whole structure of the society in many ways too, But as you rightly said, I do not think that that making, what should I say, making an effort to ensure a more comfortable life of those who have suffered would mean any admission of guilt accepted in the court is the technical process that it is overall. So I have no problem supporting interim compensation that relates to humanity. Okay.
Yeah, it's 53 years, man. Gosh.
No. But as I said, when our founding fathers were signing independence, they would have remembered that marijuana was used by an indigenous set of people. It would never have been a criminal act because it would have been extracted from independence like it was in New Zealand and other areas. So it's a vision of our leadership that must relate to where we are and where we must go.
On to another matter now. Well, before we shift to that matter, what would you suggest to the members of the Benevolent Society who are here in the studio in terms of how we move forward now with the Coral Gardens situation, and also quickly, Master Farmer?
I can only say that I have to be part of a whole. In that part, as I said, I've already raised that the Attorney General and the Minister must look at the issues in terms of reparations. Embodied in that will be looking at the Coral Gardens issue. So I have activated that in relation to that position. That means ministers must get together, right, and begin to address the issue as the way forward. So I'm going to do my part internally in terms of raising the matters, and then I have to look at the principles as we go along.
All right, I have on Twitter at Akilimantada saying that it's a national human rights institution that was in development under previous administration being taken into account. And she says, depending on what form the national human rights institution takes, it's a forum in which Rasta could hold the government accountable. And I think it's a pretty good point.
Yes. Yeah. I think we should still examine the final aspect, what the world developed following the wars, etc. in the United Nations. We've gone into an international court of justice. I don't know legally how it looks at it overall, but perhaps that should be a case of the Rastafarians against the Jamaican government.
Do we have to go there? You don't think the government is capable of giving us a satisfactory compensation?
I didn't say that. We're looking at avenues and examining it. I said that I'm going to pursue as much as possible any influence I may have in looking at the matter. Okay?
Right. We'll give you some.
What I'm saying.
We'll give you some time to settle in, Minister Henry. Yes, and then invite you to come back once you've at least sat at your desk for a moment or two.
Well, as I said, there is no doubt that a responsible government, which the one I'm part of, is that the Attorney General must look at these issues. I didn't listen to what the Minister of Justice said, right? But I certainly have my own discussions with him overall. I had kept him aware of some of the things in opposition that I was pursuing. I sought legal opinions on the various issues overall. And if you have to lead by precept and example, that's an important element in the world. Mm-hmm. So in the point that it is, what you have is fitting into the whole jigsaw puzzle is the reality of our country and the economic issues we face and how we move forward.
Mm-hmm. And there are many people who are jaded because we're seeing these responses, for example, coming in now from persons in different medium that, we've been here before. You have been outspoken, very vocal, especially in opposition, but that in government, a little bit more muted. How do you respond to those to persons who believe this, who think this?
Well, I would have to be. I have to be. If indeed, of democracy, as we face right now, one vote or one seat make your government. In any collective decision making, you continue to pursue a point, and there's a vote in which, if you haven't got the final say, that you have to go along with. I've never wanted to fight outside totally the decision making issue. If I had to make a position clear, I think that the Rastafarians, by opting out of politics and the representation, didn't create the case that they should have been created for this right to be extended. Because, if the truth be told, they opted out of politics as a structure, quite rightly so, in terms of the issues that had to be addressed. Mm-hmm. From my point of view, there's so much I can do other than walking away from it all. Mm-hmm. And it's been a 40-year fight, and I think it's a fight that it is. When I boycotted the sitting of Parliament with Prime Minister Cameron, that was a major decision that I took.
Yes.
I'm still surviving at the moment, right?
and
so I'm going to survive along all these issues you get to this setting.
And that in itself raised expectations. But Minister, I really do have to move from this in the last 9 minutes that we have left to look at another aspect of your portfolio, which is which we haven't been looking at any so far. But hey, transport and mining. Mining in particular, there is the issue of cockpit and the cockpit country that is a vexing issue here in Jamaica. What can you tell us about how you are going to be dealing with that, and what are your own thoughts on what's happening in the Cockpit Mountains?
My quick briefing that I've gotten from where it's reached in terms of government structure will relate to where and what you declare as a cockpit country. I'm therefore briefing myself and trying to get as much information as I can in order to ensure that I take a position that is relevant to my own thinking and the protection of the environment and the historical heritage of the country. I don't think I can say that much more now, because I only got that briefing of where they have reached and everything. And I believe what is a simplistic answer at the moment is that for us to be declaring what is really the cockpit country.
Yeah.
And that is where I'm aiming now to find out where are the issues there, in order that I can make a substantive position on it, and in that context guide the decision of cabinet or the country.
And in the meantime, will you at least call for a halt in the mining that is currently happening in the disputed border areas?
That I couldn't say until I only was briefed as to whether there needs to be a call immediately or not. What today's was? It's on Thursday evening.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So I'm reading the documents as it is. Let's rest assured that if something is in the interest of the heritage, the history of the country, and that relates to what is my feeling, I will take a position.
Mm-hmm. And finally,
cabinet is a collective decision on which, unless your principle is crossed, you have to look at how you can win the best battle out of it.
And finally, China in Jamaica, the North Coast Highway, is that under your portfolio, or has that been?
No, roads are not on my portfolio, except to say that I'm being instrumental in the Mount Rossa and the loan and the factors that developed the North-South Highway. Mm-hmm. I certainly didn't intend to give the handle to anyone in terms of the issues that relates to. I recognize that China invests on the basis of labor. Okay?
Yeah.
And therefore, by that context, you have to protect your own heritage and your history overall. And investments are important to the country in development. But I believe there can be a unified approach on the issues that have to be addressed.
Mm-hmm. Will you, Minister, look again at what's happening in the Roaring River area in terms of the construction that's happening there relating to that agreement between China and Jamaica?
Well, that is not my portfolio in relation to it, but as it comes to cabinet or it comes to I'm asked in the consult development, I will, of course, look at the matter. Mm-hmm. But basically, in the structure of government, It really has to be moved by the minister that's more responsible.
Right, and
the environment it's an environmental issue that you're referring to, or the use of the land itself.
Heritage and, of course, the use of the land, heritage and environment with Roaring River. Heritage, of course, this is the era where Marcus Garvey's parents were enslaved, and also where...
The environment issue, of course, is one that's so sensitive all across the globe.
Yes.
That it has to be addressed. If climate change is a reality, for instance, then both your airports are below sea level and threatened, so you have to develop Burnham Field as the way forward. So that basically all of these things have to be looked at and approached in a sensible way.
One does get the impression that the environment and issues relating to the environment were an afterthought from the present administration. What are your views on that?
I don't think that at all. It's been on the front burner of every discussion I've been involved in overall. The basic point is what it's faced with many countries. It's faced by America, it's faced by Europe, it's faced by China, the emissions. Each of them have to know what it is. So that basically it's more an aspect of of education that flows and the extent to which that does. Remember, we once thought the world was flat, eh?
Yeah.
So that basically we can arrive at the issues and face the environmental issues and look at them.
The heritage side of it should not be minimized, no, Sister Kabu.
No, we did ask Minister Grange to come on the program this morning. She wasn't able to come, but I'm sure that she'll come next week.
Any of it is being minimized.
Yes.
But as I said, it's the economic decline that creates a lot of the lack of appreciation of an environment. I mean, if we wanted to look at whether it be cockpit or whether it be the other areas, this whole aspect of bringing the kind of plastic into the country, the disposal of garbage, right, the disposal of tires, etc., and the fact that you are declining economy means that people live more on a struggling base than a creative base, is what we have to address equally in a parallel level.
Minister, we have to leave it there. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, and we look forward to talking to you more in detail.
And we just look forward to moving the country in relation to a balanced approach to these issues and weighing all that and coming out what is in the interest of the people.
Okay, thank you much. Minister Mike Henry there. And a quick, we're going to have to wrap. I'm so sorry but next week we're back. But we did get lots of questions in, and I'm quite sure that, these are stuff that we can go back and mull over.
We would mind if the elders coming from Kingston could get a...
Well, we're going to give him the last word then.
Give him.
Yes.
Response.
We have only 3 minutes.
Only 3 minutes. So give a word and a sound on your experience.
Yes.
Carol.
Morning.
Morning again.
Kenneth Manning from Kingston.
And you're a survivor of the Coral Gardens.
Yes, ma'am.
Where were you at the time?
I would live on Mount Salem. Please, Mount Salem.
That is in Montego Bay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Raising some goat. Many goats. Some black, some white and brown goat. And I have some youth amongst me. I help me out and thing. And then he say, why them are carrying all Rasta trim them and all that. Well, the youth then run away and left me 2 youth. But they didn't Ras. It's only nailed one Ras. So I couldn't run me, left my goat in my valuable thing. And them cast me.
When you say cast, you mean throw a rope over you and...
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, rope and...
Last you like man per horse, yes?
Yes, and drag me down to the station.
Drag you?
Yeah, drag me with the rope. And put me inside. Me not go say I have a lot of money in there trim. But here what am I about trim them now? The scissors, big like this, scissors, we take trim.
Flowers.
And it's like,
oh my God,
when you come to them tie me down, I mean, they don't lose you. And when you realize they want to put on the scissors, rich man, why are so ignorant and get mad? This is Rasta up with him and them kind of way. And I ram him with the scissors, stab him. And they mash me down bad. And I spent 6 months in the hospital. And when I come out of the hospital now, I find myself in jail now, and from jail to prison. I get you 6 years in prison.
For what?
What they charge?
Stab up the man. Yeah. And I got beat. But when I come from prison, I go back to the part. When I go back there, everything gone. My place gone, everything. And
your farm gone.
My farm gone.
Everything gone.
Yeah, everything gone. But thank Jah, my life no gone.
No. And here you are, and as a survivor. Right? Victimized, but a survivor.
True, ma'am.
Victimized and a survivor.
Thank you.
Elder, give thanks.
Yes.
Thanks for coming in. It's because we're totally out of time. Just 30 seconds left. Now we talk about the event. The event on the 25th.
The 25th of March, Jared Park in Montego Bay there, starting 10 a.m. with an health fair and a children's workshop and a fun day. The workshop will have like pastry making.
No, we don't have time.
Time for that. All right.
Yes. And the symposium. We're out of time. Totally.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much. All right. Let's go to the phone lines where Professor James Small is standing by. Professor Small, thank you so much once again for joining us on the Africa Forum.
Oh, you're welcome. It's happy to be here.
All right, we're really happy to have you also. And, you know, in the words of Kwame Ture, African people are moving now. And really, another movement of African people to the continent of Africa is in the works, and a study movement, an educational movement being spearheaded by yourself and Dr. Leonard Jeffries. Let us talk about this first, the movement to Egypt, to Kemet.
Yes, ma'am. We're leaving. I'll already be in Kemet. The group will be leaving America on the 23rd. We will go in Kemet as on the way to Ghana. But there are a number of things that will take place in that short period that we'll be in Kemet. We will get a chance to visit the pyramids, the National Museum, and the Sphinx. But the thing that we're trying to synchronize, I'll be in Egypt already for the sprinkling of the ashes of Dr. Francis Cress Welsing in a tomb that is being excavated by Dr. Tony Browder. And that's a few days before. I'm trying to negotiate with them to hold off 2 days to let the group come from America, which I think they will do, so that we can enlarge the participant in the sharing of Dr. Cress Welsing ashes in the tombs in Ghana.
All right, so suppose
in Kemet.
In Kemet. So pause a moment for me there, Prof, because we want to spend some time, a minute or two, on that particular event that will be happening in, or ceremony that will be happening in Egypt. I'm quite sure lots of people hearing that would want to know more and possibly to be a part if it's open like that. So tell us about that. The Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, we have been talking about here on the program, and also have been quoting extensively over the years. She transcended recently, and we hear you saying that her ashes will be sprinkled in a tomb in Egypt.
Right. I'll be presiding over her memorial on the 19th in Washington, D.C. And her remains will go from there in July to Egypt. And there's a tomb that's being excavated by Dr. Anthony Browder in a project called the ASA Project, named after Dr. Asa Hilliard. And it is in that tomb that the ashes will be sprinkled in the ceremony for her departure to the other world with the ancestors will take place. And we are trying to get the group from here. We were scheduled to land in Egypt on the 23rd. The ceremony is scheduled for the 17th. So I'm trying to synchronize that so that both things can happen at the same time.
All right. What about... yes.
Go ahead, Maddie.
If persons here in Jamaica are interested in being part of that, is that also open to persons who want to travel with you to Jamaica and especially for that aspect?
Yes, ma'am. If someone is interested, they can contact me personally at my 914-960-2693. telephone, 914-960-2693, or they can contact me by email at amponsa@gmail.com.
Yes. All right.
Oh, I'm sorry, amponsa3@gmail.com. amponsa3@gmail.com. It's going to be a fantastic trip. When we finish Egypt, we will continue on to
just before you leave Egypt, Prof. You mentioned the museum, the Sphinx, the pyramids in Cairo. The question on our minds is, what condition do we know? What's the situation in Egypt after the so-called Egyptian Arab Spring and all that has happened with the museum and so on?
Yes. No, things are in very good shape. Brother Asher Kwesi has traveled there, and a number of other tour groups have been there every year since that happened. With Brother Kwesi, who goes an annual pilgrimage to Egypt, he was there in the very few months after that incident.
Yes.
They did some slight damage to the museum, but that has since been repaired years ago.
Okay.
The climate in the country seemed to be very friendly and very controlled. And, you know, Egypt always had a very strong security force. They actually had their own tourism police force, which is a whole nother military network. But the news sometimes over-exaggerates some of the things that go on. And of course we know there's always, given the crisis in the world today, and especially sometimes in what we call the quote-unquote Middle East or Northeast Africa, there is tension, but Egypt seems to be quite settled and quite under control as far as that is concerned.
Yeah, we're very happy to hear that. Yes, we're glad to hear that.
Don't have any real worry about that.
Yes, and especially for the movement, and we're determining when and where we enter, and we've been talking about that for those who wish to enter through Sierra Leone, and we talked about that last week as we go into Sierra Leone in December. Then do that. For those who wish to enter through Egypt and then to Ghana, this is what we're talking about now. So take us now to what's going to be happening in Ghana.
Well, Ghana is going to be exciting. We're going to do land in Accra, and from Accra, after one night in Accra, initially we're going up to Kumasi to visit the Ashanti Nation and the Ashanti Hini Palace of their great king, and the museum, as well as the craft village and the Kinti village and other cultural sites. Then we'll travel on to Cape Coast, where we'll visit the Cancun Park for the canopy walk. You know, one of the 3 canopy walks in the world is in Ghana. And that's an extraordinary canopy walk, the one that's in Cancun. And we'll go from Cancun then to our first hotel, which is one that's owned by me and Dr. Jeffries and others, the Sana Lodge. And we will overnight and have lunch there. And then we'll travel the next day to the Elmina slave dungeon, the oldest slave dungeon in Africa. And we will then tour some of the sites in the city of Elmina, and we will return back to our hotel. The next day we will travel to the Cape Coast slave dungeon, which is the largest one in Africa. And we will tour the sites of Cape Coast. What will also be happening that's in the central region is Reverential Night, which is the night before Emancipation Day. And in Reverential Night, we will march by candlelight through the streets of Cape Coast with the local community of Cape Coast, and we will march to the slave dungeon, where we will have a vigil that will last until after midnight, and that vigil will involve theater performance of historical events, musical performance, dance performance from different people from around the world, from the diaspora, from the Caribbean, from the United States, from other parts of Africa and the UK. The next morning we will travel on to a Sinmanso. That's called a place called Dunkrosum, or the Slave River. And that's where the body of our sister from Jamaica.
Crystal, yes.
Is entombed.
Yes.
Crystal.
Yes.
And so we will go there. Crystal is there, and a brother named Carson from the United States
yes.
is there. Those bodies were brought there. Yes. Wow, it's been a long time now.
It's been a long time. We were there. I was there with you in the water, Dr. Swan. Yes.
Yeah, that's where we met. And so we will go to the river, and we will, with the government officials and all the leading people in the country, and many times the president or the vice president participates in this ceremony. We will have a big funeral durbar in a Senmetsu with all the kings and the chiefs and the queen mothers, and then we will all visit the tomb of Crystal and of Carson, and then we will journey on to the river itself. I don't know if you've been there since they've really fixed the place.
No, not since that. I think I'm going back.
Park.
I'm going to be on that trip, I think. Yes.
Yes, you will love what they've done.
Wow.
And when we leave there, after resting in our hotel, we will go to the western region.
Yes.
That's up in Sekondi Takoradi. That's the gold and the oil region. But it's also a very historical region with other slave forts and dungeons. And we will visit one slave fort called Dick's Cove, which was settled by the Danish and operated by the Danes. So people can get another sense. We know of the British, we know of the French, but we don't know of the Brandenburg Germans and the Danes and the others. So we'll visit one of those. But what will also take place there, a naming ceremony, an authentic, not a tourism naming ceremony, an authentic naming ceremony that will be presided over by the king of Esukado, and that's Nana Kwabanenketia, and he's the king of that stew in that region. Him and his elders and his chief and his queen mother will perform an authentic naming ceremony, and everyone that is on the tour will be formally attached to one of the royal family as a family member in that region. And the last thing we will do in that region, and I know he doesn't mind me saying it, I won't say his name, but there's a couple that's coming from Maui, and this is their 21st wedding anniversary. So they will be renewing their vows in Esukado. And we will be doing a traditional African wedding.
Wow.
So, there'll be other things going on. We go out to the clubs and we dance in the evening.
I'm going to throw something out, Professor. I'm going to throw something out. You know, I got married in Kumasi in August. So I'm just putting that out there.
Okay. And you know, Anthony Browder and his wife Jan, we also performed their wedding in Ghana about a decade ago. So it's going to be a fantastic trip. We're going to have a good time.
I should put that out there, right? We're thinking about the anniversary.
And let people know we do go to the nightclub and we dance and we enjoy ourselves. And we go out to dinner in the evening in the community at different clubs and restaurants. And we move through the community so we can feel the people, be with the people. We visit villages, and we always ask people when they come to bring notebooks and pens and pencils, and even good books for children.
Well, Professor Small, we're going to talk to you again because guess what? You know, through your conversation, I don't know, I have my guests in the studios from the Choral Gardes Benevolent Society, Rastafarian Brethren and Sisters, and I don't, were you getting
peace
those?
And blessings to my brothers.
Blessed love, brother.
Greetings, my brother.
Yes.
Sister Pamela, I was looking at you. You feel this? I know you feel this. We feel this seriously. So Prof, we're gonna be talking about this some more, and
yes, ma'am.
And we have a question though from one of our listeners asking about the estimate of cost. We know what the cost is for New York so far.
$3,600 for the whole package.
For the entire package from Egypt all the way up to Ghana, $3,600. Wow.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and that's from New York though.
Yes, ma'am. That's from New York.
All right.
The sister who, Sister Sharifa, who's one of my home sisters from Jamaica, that's my business partner, and she's the CEO of African Dreamer Tours.
Yes.
And so, you know, we can always work out things when you're coming from other distant places.
Yes.
Because we may work it out so you don't have to. You can meet us flying from, say, Jamaica to UK and meet us
in
Kemet.
Brilliant.
Instead of flying to New York and going whatever we can do to cut the price, we will do it.
Well,
we'll work for
we're going to be arranging from this end. Quite sure many people are interested in this. I'm very, very interested in this. All the way from Kemet to Ghana. This sounds brilliant. We will continue to talk about this here, and we'll talk with you again further at length when we have more time, and also give our listeners a chance to call in with their questions. But thank you so much for putting that out there right now.
Peace
so that
and blessings to the whole family in Jamaica. Right. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, Professor Small. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Professor James Small. African people are moving now. It is what it is. So we're moving to Kemet in July, and then all the way to Ghana. And doesn't it sound exciting? We're going to be there. This is what I'm saying, Sister P. We want to go quickly to our brother Jawari of the UNIA here in Jamaica, who left Jamaica on a fishing boat, one of the bigger ones, I'm sure, and 31 persons left Jamaica on a fishing trip. They were heading into international waters near Mexico on around March 6th. We understand that the boat broke down, that they drifted for 2 days, and that the Caymanian authorities were called for assistance. Well, what happened after that is quite interesting. So we're trying to find out from our brother who is on the boat, which has been commandeered, I understand, by the Caymanian authorities. We just want to get the truth of that, because I think he's able to speak with us. And let me know if we have him on the phone lines, please, as we get ready to go into news. It's very important for me to know that. Standing by to speak with Jawari at 8:36. We're expecting to hear from him what transpired, what happened, and why 2 of those, or 3 of the Jamaicans who were on board the boat, why they are now in Caymanian jails, why they were arrested. All right, so let me go to the phone. My brother Jawari.
Yes, Sister Gabu. Greetings. Good morning.
Greetings. Where are you exactly now?
We are at the docks in Cayman, where we have been for the past 4 days, tied up on the boat.
All right. What is the situation? Tell us quickly what happened. How did you come to be for the last 4 days on a boat tied up in a dock in Cayman? I mean, the boat tied up, not you.
We broke down and we were drifting for at least a day and a half in the vicinity of Cayman. It was not primary destination, but we broke down and we hired a tug to bring us here and paid them. That's how we got here.
So you had a tug? Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
When we got here, we are faced with the customs and immigration of Cayman, which were very brutal and cruel to us. They paid no attention to the fact we are at sea and the trauma we had just been through. They put us on the dock and searched us like animals. Then they took dogs and went on our boat and searched everywhere on our boat. And when they found a tiny handful of ganja, they arrested 2 of our crew members and publicized it to the world that we were drug smugglers.
So this is what is in the Caymanian media now, that they have captured a boat with drug smugglers?
Yes, it's on their television and it's in their newspaper, and they refuse to put them out of ganja because they want it to look sensational. Like I heard that in Jamaica they're saying it's 90 pounds. Well, here they put on the news it's an undisclosed amount, which leaves the imagination from anything to 1 pound to £1 million. That's the way they do it here.
All right, and you had actually written to me before you left that you were heading out to go fishing into deep waters.
Yes.
Tell us about that. What was the plan?
We were going to international waters, which is 450 miles away from Jamaica, nowhere near Cayman. But when we were 300 miles of the sea, our vessel broke down, our crankshaft and the engine went, and we started drifting, and the weather was very, very bad. It was disgusting. Somebody almost got washed overboard. We had to grab onto his feet. That's how bad it was. And we went through pure hell. So when we got here, we were devastated. I mean, we were ill. Some of us were ill, seasick, traumatized by the event. And this was so unsympathetic. They just had us on the dock, standing there in front of the tourists. Thousands of tourists were there watching us, white people. All I could think of was in days of slavery, when the slave ship came here and white people were just looking at us like people on the auction block. We stood there like animals on the auction block while they took their dogs. The the wannabe white people who call themselves customs, because that's what Caymanians are. Wannabe whites. They want to impress whites so bad that they don't press their own black people.
So
that's what we went through.
Oh my! So let me ask you this, Jawari. You have been there for how many days now?
It's going to be 5 days now.
5 days now.
Have you for 8 days today?
8 days at sea, 5 days now on a dock in Cayman. Are you? Is your movement restricted? Can you leave the? What are they holding you there for, and what are they saying to you?
They claim that they're just offering the courtesy of us being here. We cannot leave this compound. We cannot visit anybody on the streets. You know, they just keep it here locked until they figure out they're doing us. And they were just stumbling over themselves. And the Jamaican authorities have to be blamed also, because they took very slow efforts to get here and to talk to us about it. And even when they got here and spoke to us about it, they refused to explain to the people that we want to go home.
So who, when you say the Jamaican authorities, who have you seen?
The Jamaican consulate. They came down here pretending that they care about us.
From the Jamaican consulate in Cayman?
Yes, they came on the docks also.
Do you know if this has reached the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here in Jamaica?
I'm sure it has, because they are now consulted with them to try to get a plane ticket to send us home, which is only $7,000. I'm sure Jamaica can afford $7,000 for 31 of its hard-working citizens.
Fishermen.
We're smugglers. We're fishermen.
So did they? What is in terms of a ganja? Once you came into Caymanian ports, it became illegal. Is that what it is?
Yes, it's illegal, but we didn't go onto the land.
Right, they found it at sea.
Fishermen smoke ganja at sea. There's no question. We smoke weed at sea to keep our mind set on what we're doing. We drink liquor at sea to keep our mind. People don't understand the trauma of going to sea. People think it's just a matter of eating fish and everything is cool. They go through changes out here. So we smoke a little weed. Who can blame us?
How many of you?
Who can blame us?
How many of you are now in Cayman in this situation?
31 of us. I think there are 2 of them in lockdown and the rest of us are on the boat.
31 of you, and 2 people are in jail.
Well, captivity, they can't go anywhere.
What do you know that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is doing? What do you know? What have they said to you? Who has spoken to you?
We spoke to this representative yesterday, and she's hemming and hawing about the cost of paying for the plane ticket, because the boat is disabled and we can't use it to go back to Jamaica. So we have to go home to our families. And that it should be the responsibility of either the Cayman authorities or the Jamaican authorities, or more so the Jamaican authorities, because we are Jamaican citizens.
Jawari, you are a very active, very vocal. Just a few weeks ago, we spoke to you about the work that you are doing along with the UNIA in the prisons here in Jamaica. You are a very active and vocal member of the Jamaican Society and of the UNIA. Have you reached out to the UNIA? What has Stephen Golding said to you? Is he in contact with the ministry here on the ground, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
Well, I don't really want to comment on that one right now, sister. I'm trying to get home. And that's what I'm doing right now.
What do you mean you don't want to comment? What do you mean you don't want to comment on this? I don't understand that.
There's very little that you and I can do for us right now. It is our Prime Minister and the leaders of our country need to address this.
No, I'm not asking the UNIA to address it, but I'm saying that Stephen is also an active member of the Jamaican Society, who is well known and who has celebrity power. He can reach out to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and that's why and it's a fair question. I'm just asking this.
I'm going to take the responsibility of the government of Jamaica. They are responsible for us, not the UNIA.
I am not saying just be sure on this. No, I'm not saying the UNIA is responsible. I'm saying that you have said to us that you are stranded in the Cayman Islands, and I'm just asking, what are the different channels that are being used? And as an active member of the UNIA, this of course would have been one of the channels. If you say it's not one of the channels, then that is understood, and that is fine. With just a minute to go though, my brother, where do you go from here?
Well, we finally came to a conclusion yesterday after we started getting rowdy about it, because they know Jamaicans are people who don't take oppression easily, and we don't sit down for long and pretend that we're going to take it. So they came down here yesterday and promised to get us out of here by tomorrow. They're going to ask the Jamaican people to pay for our tickets to come out of here, and if they don't want to pay, then they're going to deport us and pay it themselves. That's what they say. That's what they say.
So you're just in the meantime, your movements are restricted. You're there 8 days at sea and 5 days.
Yes, and we can get up with our families. We are concerned about our families. Our families are concerned about us. I'm really upset with the Jamaican consulate and what they've done, what they have not done for us. You know, we want to be first world countries, but we are trying to get here. If this was America, we'd have been home a long time ago.
All right, Joe.
So why are we sitting here talking, pretending we want to be first world, or we acting like third world all day long, disrespecting our people, and disregarding our fishermen.
Joey, and my heart goes out to you, my brother, and I make an appeal to the authorities to look at this urgently and to deal with this urgently. A group of people who have gone to sea over and over and over and over again on big ship and a small boat, a big boat, them go to sea, and so, and here you have... Yes.
People die in these journeys sometimes. The weather gets so horrendous. People die. People fall overboard, and people get seasick, and all kinds of crazy stuff happen to our people here. We risk our lives to feed our people. We are worthwhile citizens, not no damn ganja smugglers. We are serious workers, and they need to stop stigmatizing us like we are ganja smokers. Everybody smokes ganja nowadays, including Obama. He smokes ganja. What the hell is going on here about fishermen smoking ganja? That's crazy. Our life is worth a lot, not just ganja.
My brother, I'm so sorry. Yes. I'm really so sorry to hear what's happening there. We'll keep it in the public sphere. I do have to go to the news, as you know, because we really didn't want in the morning to go and not talk to you.
God bless you, and God bless the people who are listening, and take a stance against this lip service government we have. I mean, we got rid of one. I hope this one is going to do better for us right now, because it's got nothing for us. That's why God took his black ass home. Talk to you later.
Be strong for everybody else who's on the boat. Thank you so much, my brother. Keep faith. Yeah, and politics now. Mm-hmm. So I have been saying to my friends and people who know me and people who listen to this program that the current Prime Minister was listening to me and Robert that morning when we were giving out portfolio titles.
Yes.
Because I did give the portfolio of Minister of National Security to Bobby Montague.
And he got it.
And he got it.
Wow.
And I think he deserves it, and I think that he will do a very good job in it.
Yeah. I think anybody who gets there is on a death sentence.
I don't think so.
Really?
Jamaica? I don't think so.
Oh.
I don't think so. But I think Bobby Montague has it within him to lead this.
I'm not saying I don't deny that.
And I don't think he's going to allow. It's not going to allow himself to fail. Bobby, you just keep the.
It's not him. It's Jamaica.
He not going to work on him, man. You see what he needs. Let me tell you what. I might be in the minority, I know, in terms of my response to this, but I did give him the portfolio anyway. So here's the situation. His team is going to be very important.
True.
For example, the commissioner is going to be very important for him to determine and know who is going to tap. Along with whoever else tapped the commissioner, but he must be a big part of that. And then his team must be a trustworthy team. I don't know if he can find that, but you see, if he's able to lead a trustworthy and honest team, who him can have an open relationship with, so that you have the vice commissioner, what I'm calling the deputy commissioners,
commissioner, yeah.
In the different regions, I think that he'll be able to begin at least to address some of the issues, some of the security issues. I don't think it's crime in Jamaica. Security in Jamaica is a complex issue, like he said.
Definitely.
It's connected to everything else, including socioeconomics.
True.
And because of that, it's going to be very, very challenging. So he has to be able to see the complexities. I'm going to suggest to him that he taps a woman for the commissioner. Yeah, because women...
Really?
Like, I tell you something.
Just because she's a woman?
No. Not just because she's a woman, but you know who you have. Women are able to deal with complexities, to deal with complex issues, to manage complexities. And if you find a woman who is at that level of training, who also has that, you have somebody who can draw the pieces together.
Well, fair enough. Well, hopefully finds her. But in the time being, he just needs to have a good team around him. But I hope it goes well, because it would mean good for Jamaica. But I really have my doubts. For whatever reason, Jamaicans. I don't.
Well, I am not hopeless. I'm not hopeless. I know that it's a two-headed monster when it comes to politics. But in picking the different ministries apart and how people are able to manage these ministries, I think that he took the best from the lot for the position of Minister of National Security.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go back on that until
sentence.
I will.
Best of luck, Bobby.
I will eat my words later on. But for now, best of nothing to you, because it's going to be hard, not easy, and not a cakewalk. And you can't do it in a year or 2 years. It's gonna, but at least you have to begin to set the groundwork. And he strikes me as that kind of person who not necessarily come jumping from the middle, but who's going to stop, look at what he has, and as I said, he needs to find a woman as a commissioner, a woman who has that highest level of training and who also is able to think in this in this complex way, and able to pull complexities together, able to join the pieces. So women are, generally women are good at that,
I don't know. I think human beings can handle it. I don't know.
No. You can hardly find a man who can say this thing connected to that thing, connected to that thing, connected to that thing, connected to that. You can do it. You can do it.
Of course.
Please.
Human beings have the potential. I don't really look at gender.
Me not look on gender either. I'm looking at the strengths and weaknesses, and in this case, the strengths of a particular gender.
What we can say is that Jamaica is ranked number 1 in the world. If I think for as a country would have a woman as a boss, Jamaica I think is number 1. So big up to Jamaican women, but I don't really look. I think human beings can handle complexities. I don't really look to say it's a woman or a man. I just try to find the best personality.
No, but
it's true, because I would never go to my way to disrespect a woman, because
we're not talking respect or disrespect. We're talking about what is unique to this particular gender, and there are things that are unique to women,
but the truth is
that are not unique to men, and there are things that are unique to men
that's so true,
that are not unique to women.
Let me step on a few toenails. But a lot of people in Jamaica will have the experience of a woman being in leadership, and let's say it's not the best because they can't separate personal feelings from.
This is why I said to you exactly. No, but I don't know what personal feeling, because you see, one must also bring into the fore the emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is important when you are a manager, so you can't discount that, because you have some people who not put that in at all.
True.
So you really can't discount that. But this is why I said the training, the highest level of training, plus that other quality, because not every woman have that quality there either, but most women do. So that high level of training plus the quality.
Most women, boy.
Gonna go to the phone lines where my brother Rasperty is standing by. Rasperty, my brother.
Greetings to everyone. Rastafari love and greetings to all.
All right, good to have you. Rasperty, is this the very first time that I'm interviewing you on the program?
No, my princess, no taboo.
I mean, you are alone,
Studio.
I mean, you are alone, singularly.
I believe so.
Yes, and that is a shame. But welcome. It's not going to be the last. All right, very good to have you on, and the most congratulate on the work that you've been doing in the House of Dread. Really, thank you so much, Rasperty. All right, so here we go now with the 50th anniversary and of the visit of His Imperial Majesty to Jamaica. You are part of a committee, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah, representing the House of Dread. Before we get to the essay competition itself, which is one of the things that's happening, talk to us about some of the activities that will be happening on the day, the calendar of activities that will be happening leading into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will start from the 15th of April, where there will be a launch of His Majesty and the Movement exhibit at Montego Bay Civic Center, and that should run from the 15th to the 29th. To come closer, on Wednesday, April the 20th, all the brethren at the Nyabingi Scott Park Center will participate in the lighting of the fire key for those assemblies that are going to take place. And on Thursday, April the 21st, there will be a gathering at the Norman Manley International Airport at 10 a.m. All members of the family that wish to participate can gather there at 10 a.m. It is expected that at 11 a.m. there will be the arrival of Prince Ermias to Jamaica. There should be a small reception at the airport, a very small one, at the end of which is about, say, 12 to 12:30. The motorcade from the Norman Manley will proceed along the same route that His Imperial Majesty took, and on that will be the East Queen Street, Duke Street, right up to National Heroes Park. There will be a presentation there where the Prince will lay a wreath at Marcus Garvey's tomb, and from Heroes Park, he will proceed to Michael College where he'll make a presentation, and then to JC, similar fashion, UTEC, and the University of the West Indies finally.
Yes.
Between 4 and 7 p.m. that evening, you will have a rally at the UWI ruins where you will have testimonies and speeches and presentations. On 9 p.m. that same night, beginning, will be the 12 tribes' regular celebration at their headquarters. And we must take time out to say our thanks to the 12 tribes for contributing their PA system to this effort.
And to say happy belated birthday to Sister Vi.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And to all the rest of sisters and brethren that we have no time to make note of.
Yes.
Respectfully. On Thursday, April 21st, there will be the traditional Rastafari celebrations at Nyabingi Order, Scott Pass, same 21st of the arrival, and Pit 4. And our brethren in Bubba Hill will be blazing their drums for days.
All right, so
that takes you up to the 21st.
Yes.
On the 22nd, at between 1 and 3:30 p.m., there will be a civic ceremony at Haile Selassie High School, which is entitled Education is the Key to Everlasting Enlightenment, under the patronage of the Prince. At which time also we will be wiping away some of the disrespect paid to the Emperor by the replacement of a monument indicating the founder. As we usually say, and I usually complain, there's no way you go to a school and you don't know who the founder is. So we are correcting that in a permanent way. There will also be a presentation, a small 10-minute presentation by the Prince, along with Jabelani Tafari and Michael Barnett. The school, a set of kids from the school will sing 3 songs. One, the school song, the Jamaican anthem, and the Ethiopian anthem. At the end of that celebration, on Friday, it should proceed to the University of the West Indies, where at 6 to 8 p.m. between those hours, you will have a reading of a citation to His Imperial Majesty and a lecture by Prince Ermias at UWI campus. At about 8:15, there will be the official opening of a special Haile Selassie visit photographic exhibit at the regional headquarters at UWI, entitled Commemorating Emperor Haile Selassie's 1966 state visit to Jamaica, again under the patronage of the Prince. There will be a reception, small reception after, where artistic presentation will be made by maybe Mikey General and Luciana and others. Okay, on the Sunday, the 24th, at about 8:30, there will be a special service at the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, Maxfield Avenue, Kingston, in the morning. And there's also to be an event at the Sam Sharp Square, Montego Bay, at the Rastafari exhibit in the afternoon. Now to go to your essay competition.
All right. So the essay competition now, and this, just to let our listeners know, we're talking about all the activities that are planned to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the visit of His Imperial Majesty the Emperor Haile Selassie I to Jamaica. And you just heard Ras Purdy laying out exactly what's going to be happening for almost the entire month of April, leading up to April 22 or thereabouts. But in among all of that is the essay competition, which is now open. So let's talk about that, Ras Purdy.
Before we go there, let me correct an omission. On Saturday at 12 o'clock.
That's what date?
That will be the 23rd.
Yes.
The Youth Council will be presenting a function celebrating His Imperial Majesty's 50th visit. You must realize that in this year, it's the 100th year of his crowning, it's the 120th anniversary of Adawa, and also the anniversary of his visit. The Youth Council will be presenting a function at 22 West Road, where there will be cultural activities and craft displays and certain nourishment that will be provided there for sale.
Right. Okay, and so now for the essay competition is open to different ages. Let's start with the topic for the essay competition, the different areas that people can write on.
Okay. The theme is the commemoration of the visit of Haile Selassie to the Caribbean, 1966. And the ages of the competition are ages 11 to 14. Their words should be from 800 to 1,000. Ages 15 to 17.
800 to 1,000 words?
Yes.
Okay.
And ages 15 to 17, it will be 1,000 to 1,500 words. 18 to 21, 1,500, 2,000 words. 22 to 25, 2,000, 2,500 words. The idea is to research and produce an essay which should be comprehensive in the information. Creative artistic pieces on the visit are also accepted. The entries will close on April the 8th, and the prize for the winner is yet to be announced.
All right, so we'll hear some more about that. In the meantime, for persons who are listening who want to enter this essay competition, what do they need to do?
They need to, I would give them a number, and they would call that number and get all the necessary information.
All right, what's the number?
That number would be the same number you dialed, 377
0363.
And that information will be coming from Professor Jelani Naya, who's our key point behind this essay.
All right. So once again, the essay competition is now open. When is the cutoff date in terms of?
It's going to be closed on the 8th of April.
So you should have been doing your research by now. If not, start doing your research. Check the age group that you're in. You just heard from Ras Purdy the amount of words that you need to write. And if you need more information, call the number 3770263. Enter the essay competition, and the cutoff date is once again April when?
Cutoff date is April the 8th.
April 8th. All right, and you'll hear more about the prizes. The winners will be announced here on IRI FM. You'll hear more. Is there going to be a ceremony outside of that announcement on IRI where the competitors who have won would be presented and would be reading their essays?
quite possible. The prizes and that arrangement is now being finalized.
All right, Ross Purdy, thank you so much, and we'll hear much more from you. And it's a quick
Empress.
Yes.
In just 1 minute,
Yes.
I found your conversation with the relative authorities this morning to be quite engaging.
Yes.
It is the first time we have ever heard about acknowledgement and apology. And this year is most refreshing. This year is a very powerful year for Rastafari.
Yes.
And we would hope that the family would move cohesively together to achieve what is exactly due.
That is a way forward. Thank you so much, my brother, Ross Purdy.
And finally, I must commend all my brethren from the House of Dread for the enthusiastic way that they have responded to our project.
Yes, yes.
Thank you very much. Blessed love to all.
You too, my brother. What good. All right, Ross Purdy there. You know, my sister Jem Mason at Sight Guy 2015 on Twitter has made a good point, a nice little slap on the wrist. Thank you there, Jem. She says Security Commissioner of Police is a civil servant post and should not change based on government. And she says Kabu do not encourage politicization. And I take that slap and thank you for that, Jem. All right, as we go to the phone lines to speak with Mr. Dennis Wright of the Jamaica South Africa Friendship Association. Mr. Dennis Wright, good morning, sir. How are you doing?
Good morning. Greetings.
Greetings to you.
How are you?
I'm doing very well. The JASAFA celebrating with Africa Rising events, March 18 and 20. This is happening on the ground here in Jamaica. Quickly tell us about that, please.
On the Jamaica South Africa Friendship Association, let me just give you a little background. It's been around from about 2004.
Yeah.
Under the founding president, Mr. Professor Upton Dunn.
Yeah.
And
I must say I was part of that process. I'm just going to say that I was part of that process. But so we know this very well, and I think that the audience also knows the background. But I refresh for those who do not know, and do that quickly because I'm pushing you because we just have a few minutes.
Okay.
Yes.
We are celebrating Africa Rising. Started on March the 18th.
Yeah.
Which is a fish fry and a domino tournament for people to come out and enjoy an evening of African music and really getting into the culture of Africa, which we liaise quite closely with South Africa. And
Dennis, let me interrupt you because I'm seeing from the release that you have sent out that these are actually events that were scheduled for Black History Month but were pushed back because of the elections.
Elections, that's right.
Okay.
It should have been on the 26th of
February.
But as a result of the election, we decided to just push it back because of the time. We wasn't sure what was going to happen after the election.
Right.
So, and then the attention was so much on the election that, I don't think
Of course. We had to do that here too. All right.
Right.
So the dates now, the new dates are March 18
yes.
and 20.
And 20. Right. So on the 18th we're having our fish fry, and we're also having the evening lime, which will be playing African music. We'll have special guest artists, and we'll have a domino tournament with the different friendship associations, which would be the Germans and the Trinidad and Tobago, the Cubans, and all the others that come in. Plus, other people can come and enjoy the evening.
Right, and I notice you're having fish and festival and Bami and Tonkan meal.
That's right, and Tonkan meal.
Yes.
So, it really starts from 11 o'clock for those people who are pre-ordered, and we'll deliver, and and you can also come and pick up their fish. And we have some of the best have 4 of the best chefs that deal with fishing right now.
So you're not having any South African food?
The next time around when we do the South African Day.
Okay. All right, then you get off the hook for that one, literally. Okay. All right. So and then on the 20th. So this is on the 18th, and this going to be where?
At 23 Inning Road, right in New Kingston. That building right across from DHL.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And then on Sunday, March 20.
Yes.
That's a different Africa
We're
Connect.
having the
Africa Connect.
Yes. Like a craft market. Where we will have craft from different people who who have various craft and unique.
And these are authentic African and Caribbean craft on display, as I see it. Yeah,
that's right.
Yes,
that's right.
And I noticed that you're calling on March 20. The day itself, the theme is Africa Connect.
That is right.
Yes.
It's the Africa Connect. Because we intend to do that every month. We actually started that in October.
Yes.
And we kind of had to, draw back and reassess the situation and put it in the right perspective. I think we have gotten it down properly now that it will be happening there. And also during that, on that day, we're having a high school art competition for high school right around the island.
Oh, that sounds good.
So far, we've had quite a few high schools have entered, and we're still encouraging those to come in and exhibit their art. Yes. The South African High Commission is the donor or for the main prizes, which is the trophy. The main prize would be a trophy. And cash prize of $25,000 for the first prize. The second prize will be, I think it's $15,000.
Okay.
And a plaque. And the third prize would be a medal and $10,000.
All right. So, it sounds really, really good. And just again to mark the dates down for our listeners, March 18 and 20, 23. Haining Road in New Kingston is the Jamaica South Africa Friendship Association. Dennis, your man who is well known in Jamaica, somebody from the music business with 40 odd years. I know you're saying 40 because you want people to think you're young, but it's over 40 over 40 years of experience in the music business.
I'm still young, I'm still young in heart. The body might get a bit worn, it's jumping a lot.
Yes, I know, man, I know. All right. And you've worked with the best of them, the best of them in the business, well known in Jamaica. Now, the president of the Jamaica South Africa Friendship Association. Brilliant work, Dennis. Please keep in touch with us. Let us know what you're doing. We're quite willing to have these conversations all the time, and we encourage our listeners to go out on March 18 and then again on March 20 to celebrate and lime with the Jamaica South Africa Friendship Association. Thank you, Dennis.
We really appreciate it. Thank you very much for having us.
All right, no problem. What good?
Okay, have a fantastic day, and all the people out there, have a fantastic Sunday.
Oh, you too. All right, Dennis, right there.
madala Kiwa kawai ke soko madafo Lawete fola Anafaya soko keneko Nidu wilira soko madala Kiwa to somono ke soko madafo Lawete fola Anafaya jeke keneko Fila ke sigile soko madala Misibidile Imono kono Onafaya nono keneko Nidu wilira fitirila fe Kiwa to alimami urada la fo Lawete fola Anafaya duwa mukoro Bimonte fa kontru Bimonte mokwanyale fe Mama Sona Kanibila koma kumako Ah mama le na mama asana mosomasa alabara mosoyaro reima tubajabi ah mama le na mama asana mosomasa alabara mosoyaro reima tubajabi
Welcome everyone back to the Real News Network. I'm Jared Ball here in Baltimore. On March 21st of this month, Barack Obama will be the first sitting U.S. president to visit Cuba in 88 years, since Calvin Coolidge made the trip in 1928. Glenn Ford, executive editor and founder of BlackAgendaReport.com, returns for another edition of his Ford Report, this time to discuss what this visit means. Welcome back to the Real News, Glenn.
Thanks for having me.
So I was struck by this being the first visit of a U.S. sitting president in 88 years, and I thought we could start by asking you if you see any similarities between Obama's visit in 2016 and the previous one where Calvin Coolidge said in 1928 that in the spirit of Christopher Columbus, all of the Americans have an eternal bond of unity, a common heritage bequeathed to us alone. Unless we together redeem the promise which his voyage held for humanity, it must remain forever void. This is the destiny which Pan America has been chosen to fulfill. 30 years ago, Cuba ranked as a foreign possession torn by revolution and devastated by hostile forces. Such government as existed rested on military force. Today, Cuba is her own sovereign. So Glenn Ford, is this spirit of Columbus still present in Obama's visit? And is there any real concern among U.S. presidents that Cuba be in fact sovereign?
That spirit is not existent today in terms of a real respect for Cuban sovereignty. The Cubans seized their own sovereignty, not after Coolidge visited on his battleship, but in 1959 with their revolution, and they had to reclaim that sovereignty with the defeat of the Bay of Pigs invasion just 2 years later, and they've been trying to get out from under the heel of the U.S. embargo that limits their real sovereignty as a nation ever since. When Obama arrives, I think it's March 21st, he won't be arriving on a battleship, but in a way, having lost the battle over isolating Cuba and finding the United States more and more isolated itself, Obama is, in a sense, launching himself as a kind of missile over Havana later on this month. He's going to try to penetrate the Cuban Revolution's defenses with cluster bombs of potential American trade dollars, and by offering to dismantle the U.S. financial fortress, which keeps the Cubans out of the world global financial system. His most formidable and stealth weapon will be the internet. Right now, there are corporations lining up to create the infrastructure that would bring the internet into every Cuban household. And with the internet, all of these cultural and political products that the United States carries over the internet. Because even today, the United States remains the hegemonic superpower in terms of the internet. So the U.S. is keen to get the internet saturated all over Cuba. That would be a kind of infiltration of Cuban society. And I think that this is the real drama that's going to unfold after the Rolling Stone concert and the Tampa Bay baseball team that will play the first exhibition game in Cuba since 1999. The real question is, can the Cubans resist the soft power of U.S. cultural imperialism? And U.S. cultural imperialism is also based on the dollar. And part of the price tag of U.S. trade, which is not just in products that you can pick up or use or wash dishes with, U.S. trade is also in those products that have political ideas and basically propaganda attached to them. How can the Cubans deal with that in a situation in which the embargo, if not totally broken, is eased in its impact? I think that sovereignty means that a people, that a nation have the right to resist the dehumanizing and destabilizing effects of a hostile system's cultural products, just like they have the right to resist any kind of military offensive. Cuba has a right to not allow the United States to once again invade Cuba via the internet, via trade, and by allowing the opposition in Cuba to be somehow empowered by U.S. cultural dollars. Obama can't be allowed to pull off a successful Bay of Pigs invasion, this time with baseball players and Rolling Stones and internet programming. And that's, I think, the real quandary for the Cuban government.
Well, just to follow up on that just very quickly, that last point you were making, what from the perspective of the Cuban Revolution would Raul Castro be looking to get from this meeting, as far as you could tell? What benefits from this could they derive for the Cuban people?
Well, it was kind of upsetting and disconcerting when I was in Cuba last May to hear Cuban officials talk about needing everything. That is, they look forward to the embargo being truly ended, because Cuba has a need for just about everything. In fact, I remember one head of a cooperative farm saying that they look at the United States as a big kind of warehouse where all the goods are stored, a Home Depot where they could go shopping. Well, that Home Depot is not just full of tools and things that one can use to physically build Cuban society. The Home Depot is also full of the cultural values produced by corporate capitalism, and they are formidable enemies of any society that's trying to create its own independence and not to be subject to the former colonial ruler. And that's, of course, what that U.S. president who arrived on the battleship was. This one's going to launch himself into Cuba, but he's the same enemy.
Well, I know many Americans, and I know many people, period, see see his daughter on MSNBC every morning. But the father of Misha Brzezinski, Zbigniew Brzezinski, once wrote in 1997 that what will set the United States apart from previous empires of the past was the American control over the internet. So it sounds like your concerns here are well-founded, and we thank you for sharing them again here at The Real News, Glenn Ford.
Thank you, and the Cubans are talking about this.
And thank you all for joining us here as well. And for all involved again here in Baltimore, I'm Jared Ball, saying as Fred Hampton used to say, to you we say peace if you're willing to fight for it. So peace, everybody, and venceremos.